Prologue. Spartans, the greatest warriors the world has ever known. It is said they were descended from Hercules himself. Many thousands of years ago, this civilization flourished. The Spartan are an adaptable people, always adding new military ways to their own. But eventually they met their end. Times changed, the Spartans were no longer needed, so they disappeared into the threads of time. As the world changed, so did the weapons with which it fought with. Instead of swords and spears, machines such as tanks and planes were used. Weapons with the power to wipe out entire cities in a matter of minutes were created. As with all civilizations, a war came about. First it was against two countries. Then it stretched till every country on the face of this earth was in heated conflict with its neighbors. Each potential enemy was looking for an advantage, more weapons, and more power. Till one day a single scientist found a weapon that had no equal. It was the summoning of demons. First it was simple contracts with various animals such as toads and birds. Then it grew. People would summon demons from the darkest depths of hell. This was how the 9 Biju came to our world. First it was the Shikaku, the one-tailed tanuki. But that was not enough. People wanted more, so they summoned what they could, and then the 9-tailed fox, Kyubi, was summoned. Foolish humans thought they could control these demons, but they failed. The Biju went on a rampage. Entire countries were destroyed in seconds. Destruction was everywhere. So much blood and death. When all was said and done, humanity was but a small fraction of what it once was. All the cities abandoned, weapons discarded. With nothing to entertain them, the Biju entered into an eternal slumber. The humans dispersed and went into various tribes. Some people began to embrace the teachings of old. The Spartan way of life was revived yet again. However, another force came to be as well. These people were called shinobi. They wielded a power known as chakra. The new Spartans saw this and added such abilities to their own. These Spartans, however, were different than their previous incarnation. In the past, the Spartans had a code of honor, but they also raped and pillaged. These new Spartans follow the same honor, the same teachings, but not to the same extreme. Over time, the Spartans, which were dispersed tribes, united to form one tribe. They settled into an area in the borders of a land called Fire Country, near the border of the country of Stone. For many years, the Spartans maintained friendly relations with all the elemental countries, for they followed their own set of laws different the daimyos. For one thing, when it came to marriage and the birthing of children, it was a free society. For example, say a shinobi wanted to have a child, but she was afraid that their enemies would find the child and kill them. The shinobi would come to the Spartan village to seek a member of the opposite sex to have children. Then the person who would help give the child would have to pass a test. If a kunoichi wanted a child and she found the man she believes is perfect to impregnate her, she would approach and ask. If he accepts, she would have to pass a test, the type of test dependent on the male. If she passed, they would have a child. During pregnancy, she would be welcome to stay in the village during the entire pregnancy, so her enemies could not find out and bring harm to her or her children. For the male, it is different. He would come to Sparta and seek women to bear his child. Again, he would have to take a test. If he passed, she would bear his child. Once the child was born, the shinobi were free to leave the village, and the child would be raised in Sparta, with the knowledge of who their parents were. The parents were also free to visit the child, or take them from the village if they felt it safe. One such man to do was known as the 4th Hokage of Konoha Namikaze Minato. During the war with Stone, he was worried that he would never live long enough for his name and blood to be passed on. So he went to Sparta to seek a woman strong enough to have his child. He found her in Isabella. She was considered to be the strongest of the Spartan women, but he had to pass a test before she would even consider bearing his child. The test was a test of strength. He had to prove to her that he was a strong man. He had to be unmatched in battle. So he did. In the final battle with Stone, he sat her on top a hill overlooking the field. During the battle, he used his signature technique, the Hiraition no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. He single-handedly slew 200 enemy shinobi in a matter of minutes. After seeing such strength, she agreed to bear his child. During her pregnancy, the 4th decided it would be a good idea to coddle her. That was very unusual, as that almost never happened. At first Isabella was annoyed. She was a Spartan woman for Kama's sake. She doesn't need to be coddled. But over time she got used to it. Then a miraculous thing happened. She actually fell in love with him, and him with her. He had planned on taking her as a wife, but as the fates would have it, something happened. That something was the awakening of the mighty Kyubi no Kitsune, nine-tailed fox and lord of demons. He was heading on a straight path to Konoha, and right in the middle of that path was Sparta. Many years ago, a priestess gave a prophecy. That prophecy stated that a great terror would rise and crush the Spartan race one more. But there would be one survivor. He would be raised in the heart of fire and have the Spartan way of life reborn. As such, the Spartans made preparations. They knew that the heart of fire was Konoha, since it's in the center of fire country. So they transferred all their material wealth to the Konoha Bank, with explicit instructions to never open it unless a combination of the Spartan seal and the Hokage order is presented. The Spartans were indeed a wealthy people, but they stored their wealth not for hoarding, but because they believed in living a life without too many possessions, that it corrupts man. But they felt money would be needed if the need to rebuild the Spartan race ever arose. It seems the prophecy has come to fruition. The Spartan council ordered Isabella to leave and go to Konoha so her child would be safe. After much protest, she agreed. Not 2 days later, the Kyubi attacked. Every Spartan, man, women and child, old and young, picked up their swords and spears and fought the beast. This combined might of the Spartans did something that was considered impossible. They held the demon at bay for a solid 6 days. On the 7th day, the last Spartan fell and the fox moved on. Even Konoha elite were unable to hold the demon at bay for that long. But because of the Spartan sacrifice, the 4th Hokage had the time needed to master his jutsu that would defeat the fox. His soon-to-be wife, Isabella, arrived in Konoha and went into labor. On October 10th, her son was born. But not content to let the fox have his way, and to avenge her people, she got up and prepared to go into battle. But before she left, she took off a pendant and put it around her newborn's neck. The pendant was circular, and in the color of bronze, it had what looked like an arrow on it. One side starts at the 4 o'clock position and meeting in the center, forming a sharp edge. That was the symbol for Sparta. She then gave him a peck on the cheek and whispered, "Grow strong, my child. Makes your parents and your people strong and proud." With that, she picks up the sword she brought with her and leaves to confront the beast. Later that night, the Yondaime, having just seen his love fall valiantly in battle, picks up his son, his soon-to-be orphan son, and says, "We love you, son. I'm truly sorry for having to leave you with no family. Please forgive me." He then leaves to seal the demon into his flesh and blood, his son and the last of Sparta. Naruto. 15 years after the sealing. Konoha, it's going to be 15 years because I don't want to have to wait until after Sasuke's defection to write lemons. Naruto was in the Hokage's office looking through the drawers for his JoJo that the old man had confiscated a while back when he found a scroll with Naruto written on it. Needless to say, the newly made ninja forgot all about the JoJo and sat down in a chair to read the scroll. Dear Naruto, if you are reading this, then I have passed away fighting the great beast Kyubi. I am your mother, Isabella of Sparta. The demon lord Kyubi has already decimated our home village Sparta. You are the last of your kind. With the little time I have left, I wish to explain to you about your people and your responsibilities. The Spartans are a proud people. We are a race of warriors. We are trained for war from the day we are born. We follow a code of honor that is now up to you to uphold. First, a Spartan always protects those precious to them, no matter the circumstances. Second, a Spartan never retreats. We fight till the bitter end. Even if it means death, at least we will have died on the battlefield. That is the dream of every Spartan. Third, a Spartan fights in a team, none of that lone hero bullshit, because it's just that, bullshit. Thinking you can fight alone will get you killed in needless death. Never forget those 3 rules. Contained in this letter are several seals. These seals are blood seals, intoned to you and you alone. You will find a complete set on Spartan training regimens, Spartan laws, etc. On another note, in the law book you will find that you will have to marry multiple wives to bring our people back. I will end this by saying that I truly do love you. You are my son, a Spartan son. Do not forget this. I leave now to fight the Kyubi, knowing I will die, but I must fight to avenge our people. We have already transferred most of our wealth to Konoha's bank to help you rebuild the Spartan race. Make us proud, my son. Love, your mother, Isabella. When Naruto had finished reading, his eyes were tearing up. His mother was a woman of Sparta, and more importantly, he was a Spartan. He was the one who had to carry on the Spartan legacy. At that moment, the Sandaime chose to walk into his office. Naruto-kun, what are you dash? He started until he saw the scroll in Naruto's hands as said boy turned around. Why did you never tell me about this? He asked with a serious face. Why did you keep this from me? It says here that Spartans are trained from birth. How am I supposed to make the Spartan people proud if I don't even know about them? He asked as he stood up.
Naruto-kun.
I didn't say anything to protect you from the enemies of Sparta. The old Hokage said. Protect me? By stunting my growth? If I would have been trained properly, then maybe I could have protected myself. Naruto asked, trying not to lose his cool.
I'm sorry, Naruto-kun.
I thought it was for the best, Sarutobi said with his head down. But I want what is mine so that I can begin my training now and you will have to help me, Naruto said and started reading the scroll. It says here that the Spartans transferred most of their wealth to the bank here so that I could rebuild the Spartan race. Yes, you have a substantial amount of money in the bank, and since you now know of your legacy, I will give you the keys to the Spartan clan compound. The Hokage said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. A CC clan compound? He asked, not quite believing what he heard. Yes, now as for your training, I will help you to the best of my abilities to make you a strong warrior, and I will tell Kakashi that you will be training by yourself. From what I know of Spartans, they were cool-headed warriors who could take on an army of thousands with only about 50 soldiers. They were incredibly talented with spears and swords and used special formations to take on even the mightiest of foes. Now what I suggest you do first is to read up on your history and laws. Use your Kage Bunshins for that, the Hokage said as he looked at Naruto's puzzled face. Why the Kage Bunshins? He asked while scratching his head. Well, the Kage Bunshin is special not only because they're solid, but because everything the Bunshin learns goes back to the original when it's dispelled. Sarutobi, can't stand saying the Hokage, said and smiled when realization dawned upon Naruto. Wait, so then that means that if I train for a whole day with 1,000 clones, then that would make an equal of 1,000 days of training, right? Naruto asked, making Sarutobi smile again. Yes, but you cannot have a clone doing physical exercises. Sure, you will learn what they did, but it won't increase your muscle mass. Okay, so, will you show me the way to my clan compound or what? Naruto asked and Sarutobi nodded. Yes, and there I believe you will find your father's jutsu scrolls and chakra control exercises too, Sarutobi said, making Naruto once again go wide-eyed. You know who my father was? Yes, why? Didn't it say that in the letter? Sarutobi asked and Naruto shook his head. Well then, your father was known as the strongest ninja in the world and he had spiky yellow hair and blue eyes. Can you guess who it is? He asked and Naruto nodded. Yondaime, he whispered before he pumped his fist in excitement. Oh my god, I'm the son of a Spartan and the strongest ninja in the world, he exclaimed and Sarutobi chuckled. Yes, Naruto-kun. Oh, here we are, he said as they stepped into Naruto's clan compound. Sugoi, said Naruto as he looked the compound over. All in all, the area was 24 acres. The house itself was 10 acres. It had a training ground, an onsen, a small forest and a small pond where he could practice water walking. I think they planned this out when they built this, thought Sarutobi as he looked it over. Well, I think I'll leave you to this, Naruto. I'll come by in the morning when I'm done with my paperwork and then I'll see if I can get you a teacher who can help you keep your cool in battle, said Sarutobi as he started walking away. Hey old man, yelled Naruto, making Sarutobi stop and look back at him. Why don't you use Kage Bunshin to take care of the paperwork? He asked and Sarutobi's eyes widened and he slapped his forehead. Yes, of course. Why didn't I think of that? He asked no one in particular. Well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow, old man, Naruto said and walked into his new house. When Naruto entered the house, he was once again shocked to see how big it was. In a dojo, he could see spears, shields, and swords hanging on the wall. Leaving it till the next day, Naruto went to one of the 13 bedrooms and went to sleep. When Naruto woke up the next morning, he used the books on Spartan history and law and looked over the training regimens. It contained some brutal training with weapons and wearing a chakra weight armor which was apparently located in the armory. I have an armory? He thought as he went exploring. When he got there he saw more swords, spears and shields but also 30 battle armors, the armors that they use in 300, with the red capes and everything but with a breastplate too, and 30 elite battle armors, the same but without the breastplate. Naruto immediately made 1,000 Kage Bunshins and had them do various things such as training with the swords, spears and shields but also read all the books he got from the scroll and in the library. He also put on the chakra weight armor and started off with 50 pounds on each limb by channeling chakra into the armor. After 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 sit-ups the doorbell rang and Naruto got up to see who it was. When he opened the door he could see Sarutobi standing there with a very scarred man standing next to him.
Ah, Naruto-kun.
I came to let you know that I found a suitable teacher for you to teach you to keep your cool, said Sarutobi and pointed at the scarred man. Marino Ibiki, this is Uzumaki Naruto, he said and the two shook hands. Nice to meet you, sir, Naruto said when they let go of each other. Likewise, I never thought that I would ever see a real-life Spartan, Ibiki said and Sarutobi started speaking. Well, I'll leave you two to start talking and I expect to see some results the next time I come by, Sarutobi said and walked away. Well, you might as well come in. There's no point in just standing out there, Naruto said and Ibiki walked into the house. 3 weeks later, Hokage's office. Ibiki stood in front of Sarutobi's desk and started telling him about how Naruto's training was going. There's nothing more I can teach the kid. He's like a sponge. I have already taught him to keep his cool perfectly in any situation. He even saved my life when I took him on that S-rank mission yesterday. He got his first kill too. The kid has excellent skills with his weapons of choice. He prefers close combat and despises throwing weapons. He has incredible chakra control thanks to the chakra control exercises the fourth left him and he has learned a whole lot of jutsus. Using his bunshins I'd say, he's gotten about 30,000 days worth of training done, Ibiki said and the old Hokage nodded. Good. I was doubting that he actually could stand even seeing blood. But it must be his Spartan gene kicking in, Sarutobi said with a smile. So what level do you think he is on now? He is right now on mid to high Jounin level, Ibiki said and Sarutobi nodded. Good. You're dismissed, he said and turned to a painting of the Yondaime. You got a strong kid Minato-kun. He will bear the Spartan name with pride. You chose a good container. He thought and made some KBs to do the paperwork while he started reading Ika Ika Paradise. Ohoho, Akira-chan you tease. When Naruto came to his team's meeting place on the bridge that day he saw Sakura, as always, swooning over the ever-brooding Sasuke. Naruto walked onto the bridge clad in his elite battle armor showing off the huge muscles he'd built up these last 3 weeks. Remember? The fox heals the muscles as soon as they're torn so his muscles become bigger and stronger faster than any other human. Complete with shield, sword and spear. When Sasuke and Sakura saw him they both went wide-eyed and had different thoughts. What kind of training has that dope gone through these past few weeks? I need that power to kill Itachi, were the thoughts of Sasuke. Were Sakura's thoughts as a small trickle of blood made its way down her nose. Hey guys, what's up? Naruto asked casually as he leaned against the railing. Hey dope, what have you been doing these past few weeks? Sasuke asked/demanded. Well, I've been at my clan compound training like crazy, and I went on an S-rank mission with Ibiki-sensei to kill some missing nins, he said simply making his teammates go wide-eyed again. Yeah right, you couldn't even be able to handle yourself against a cat. How could you be able to handle missing nins? Asked Sasuke. It's true Sasuke, I saw Ibiki's report. Apparently Naruto saved his life too, Kakashi said as he walked onto the bridge reading his little orange book. So Naruto, I heard you were a Spartan, he said casually making Sasuke and Sakura go wide-eyed for the 3rd time that day. Yup, and I'm gonna carry on that legacy as the king of Spartans seeing that I am the last one left since they were all killed in the Kyuubi attack, said Naruto while standing straight with pride. Good, Kakashi said as he flipped a page in his book. And have you learned anything else than your family history? Yep, I've learned a lot of jutsus from my jutsu library, and I've also learned following chakra control exercises. Tree climbing, water walking, Sinban balancing and kunai balancing, Naruto said with a hint of pride in his voice. But I don't really like to use jutsus. I just like close combat like my people. Only cowards use long-range stuff. He spat and grimaced at the word cowards. Wow, your Spartan genes are really kicking in, huh? Kakashi asked while having the decency to look up from his book. Perhaps, was the answer he got. Well, I guess we should go to the Hokage's tower and get a mission, Kakashi said and poofed out of existence with Naruto following, leaving two stunned teammates behind. How the hell can a dobe like that learn a Chunin level technique? Screamed Sasuke in his mind while walking away with his lol puppy following closely. When Kakashi appeared in the mission's office, he was surprised to see Naruto poofing into existence right next to him. So, you learned Shunshin to huh? He asked casually. Yeah, there's no better way to travel, Naruto said with a grin. 10 minutes later, the two remaining members of Team 7 walked in. Ah, good. Now I have some missions for you here. One is babysitting an elder's grandson and Sarutobi started but was interrupted by a spear tip at his throat. Old man, do you want to stunt my growth or what? You know we can handle tougher missions than that, Naruto said in a deadly tone. Naruto, don't threaten Hokage-sama like that. A pissed-off Kakashi shouted, but to his surprise Sarutobi started laughing. Haha.
Kakashi-kun.
Naruto would never do that to me. He just likes to threaten me like that sometimes, Sarutobi said and looked at Naruto. Right, Naruto-kun? Yep, said Naruto and removed the spear from the old man's throat. Well then, how about I give you a C-rank mission then? Sarutobi said. Your job is to protect a bridge builder from bandits until he finishes his bridge in Wave Country. Do you accept? When Team 7 nodded, he looked at the door and yelled, "You can come in now." And in through the door came a drunk old man looking ready to collapse any time. Are these guys supposed to protect me? They don't even look like they can protect themselves. And what's with the blonde kid? Is he going on a masquerade or what? He asked and came eye to eye with a spear tip. Watch your tongue, bridge builder, or you might just lose it, said Naruto in a dangerously low tone, making the bridge builder gulp. Sure. Sorry about that, he said while eyeing the tip carefully. No problem, said Naruto happily while removing the spear, making everybody sweat drop. I'm Tazuna, by the way. We'll leave in 30 minutes, Tazuna said and walked out of the room. Well, see ya at the gates, Naruto said and shunshined back to his house. When they got to the gate 30 minutes later, they saw Naruto standing there dressed in his usual armor but with a helmet too. This helmet was like Leonidas' helmet from 300 but with a red mohawk. Then they had to wait 30 more minutes for Kakashi to show up, and then they were on their merry way to Wave. When they had been walking for about 2 hours, they passed a puddle in the middle of the road. That's strange. It hasn't rained for weeks, thought Naruto as he observed the puddle. Hey, wait up guys. I want to try something, he said, and his team turned around just in time to see him ram his spear into the puddle, eliciting a horrified scream from it. When Naruto removed his spear, he saw that there was blood on the tip. Just as I suspected, he mused as he observed the tip, and a man rose from the puddle, his eyes filled with fury. You killed my brother. Shine! He yelled and charged for Naruto, who just sidestepped and smacked his shield against the man's face, knocking him out cold. Good work, Naruto. I was going to let them attack to see who their target was, but now I can just interrogate the survivor, said Kakashi and tied the unconscious ninja to a tree. When he woke up, he could see Kakashi standing in front of him. That was foolish of you, man, engaging a Spartan in close combat like that, Kakashi said while reading his book. Now, who was your target? He asked casually. Sai, we were supposed to kill the bridge builder to stop him from finishing his bridge, the ninja said in defeat. Now please just kill me. I can't live without my brother, he said, making Naruto snort and mutter a pathetic. Kakashi slit his throat. Well, this mission is probably A-ranked at least. Do you have anything to say for yourself, Tazuna-san? Kakashi asked. Insert Tazuna's sob story here. 30 minutes of walking and a boat ride later, Sakura walked up to Naruto to start a conversation. Nay, Naruto, that was pretty cool what you did back there. How did you know that someone was there? She asked. I didn't, he said simply. I just wondered if there may be a person in the puddle, since it hadn't rained for weeks and the sun shines brightly. Wow. I never thought of that. Sakura said, a little depressed that the class dobe had seen something she didn't. You gotta pay more attention to your surround. Naruto started, but was interrupted by Kakashi yelling, everybody get down. So Naruto grabbed Sakura and Tazuna and dived for the ground while Kakashi grabbed Sasuke when a huge Zanbatsu came flying like a boomerang and getting stuck in a tree. 3 seconds later, a guy with a bandaged mouth landed on the blade. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist and member of the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist, said Kakashi casually while looking at the man. Oh, if it isn't Sharingan no Kakashi. Heh, no wonder the demon brothers lost, Zabuza said with a chuckle. Sorry to disappoint you, but I didn't do anything to the demon brothers. It was all him, Kakashi said and pointed at Naruto, who just smiled and waved. When Zabuza got a good look at him, his eyes widened. Wait a minute. That armor. I thought all the Spartans died, he said with excitement. Are you a Spartan? The last, Naruto said. Wow. I can't believe I finally get to meet a real Spartan, Zabuza said, looking like a kid on Christmas. Tell me, are you guys as good as they say you are? He asked, making Naruto smirk. Better, he said simply. And you, Zabuza-san, has a lot of potential in you. I believe that if you train in the Spartan ways, you might become an even greater warrior than you are now. Oh really? Zabuza chuckled. And I don't suppose you're gonna train me? No, of course not, Naruto said, making Zabuza a little disappointed. That is unless you pass my test. Test? Zabuza asked with a raised, non-existent eyebrow. Yes, a test. If you manage to put a scratch on me in a weapons-only fight, I will acknowledge you as a great warrior and I'll even adopt you into the Spartan clan. Do you accept? Said Naruto, making Zabuza ready to faint. Oh my god, I might become a Spartan. This is like a dream come true, thought Zabuza in a very OOC way. Alright, I'll accept, he said and dislodged his sword from the tree and jumped down on the ground. Naruto, what are you doing? Kakashi asked while eyeing Zabuza carefully. Stay out of this, Kakashi, said Naruto, letting Kakashi know he was serious by leaving out the sensei suffix. If he passes this test, I will have a very powerful member added to my clan, and I will kill you if you get in the way of this, he said in a low tone, making Kakashi shiver. Okay, he said and backed off together with Tazuna, Sasuke, and Sakura. Okay then, said Naruto and put his helmet on and got his spear and shield into position. Shall we? He asked while grinning. Let's, Zabuza said and charged. When he got to Naruto, he started off with a diagonal slash that was blocked by the shield. When Naruto blocked, he thrusted his spear forward, nudging Zabuza's ribs, making him hop backwards. Ow, you got some swing there, Naruto said while shaking his aching shield arm. Why thank you, Zabuza said while grinning. Oh my god, I just keep getting praised by a freaking Spartan. With that thought, Zabuza charged again and ducked under a spear thrust and did a horizontal slash at Naruto's feet, who jumped and thrust his spear downwards and nicked Zabuza in the arm. Now that's 2 times I could have killed you, Zabuza-san, Naruto said casually when Zabuza once again jumped away. Come on, Zabu. Think, dude. What can I do? Wait, if I occupy both his arms, then maybe I can… Yes, that's it, Zabuza thought, and charged and ducked under a spear thrust once again and attempted a diagonal slash, which was blocked. Got him, thought Zabuza, and stepped on Naruto's spear, pinning it to the ground, all the while pushing his sword down on the shield. When both of Naruto's hands were immobilized, Zabuza pulled out his knife and slashed Naruto across the chest and jumped back. Yes, he shouted and pumped his fist into the air. Good job, Zabuza-san. You managed to scratch me. You are without a doubt strong enough to call yourself a Spartan. Welcome to the clan, Naruto said and held out his hand for Zabuza to shake it. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, king of the Spartans, he said as Zabuza shook his hand, and you are Momochi Zabuza, second in command of the soon-to-be Spartan army. At this, Zabuza broke into a huge smile. Second in command. Woohoo! Go Zabu! Go Zabu! Were the thought of a giddy Zabuza as he turned towards the woods. Haku! You can come out now. We're not their enemies anymore, he shouted, and soon a cute young girl with a Kiri Hunterine mask came out. This is my apprentice Haku. I have trained her since she was 6. I hope that won't change anything. He asked, worried about the answer. Is she strong? Naruto asked while eyeing her from top to bottom. Stronger than me, Zabuza said with pride in his voice, making said girl beam with happiness. Then she may come to, Naruto said with a smile. Okay, this is nice and all, but we have a mission to finish, Kakashi said, walking out of the woods. Oh yeah, Naruto said and turned to the Miss Duo. Do you wish to join us for this mission, or do you want to wait near Konoha for us to come back? He asked. We'll join you, said Zabuza while shrugging. It's not like we have anything better to do. And so they continued their travel to Tezuna's house with the 2 new additions to the Spartan race. Wave. 3 days later, Tezuna's house. Naruto had been teaching Zabuza Spartan law for the last 3 days. There were a lot of laws. He taught him Spartan history too. This is boring, whined Zabuza as they sat at the kitchen table. Can't we do something else? This is important, Zabuza-san, said Naruto as he took a calming breath. Zabuza really can't sit still for more than 2 minutes. He's even worse than I was. How else are you supposed to uphold the Spartan laws if you don't know them? He asked, making Zabuza sigh in defeat. Besides, we only have 3 laws left to go over. Yeah, you're right. I'll be good, Zabuza said and continued to listen to Naruto's lecture about the marital laws. When they were done with that, Naruto said, I think you will like this. We are going to talk about Spartan war history. And with that, he got Zabuza's full attention. Now I'm going to start off with the greatest battle of all times, King Leonidas and his legendary 300. And so he proceeded to tell the tale of the 300. When he was finished with his story, he noticed that he had gotten the attention of Tezuna, Tsunami, Inari, Haku, Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke, to who were all gaping in awe. Wow! 300 Spartan took on an army of 250,000 and slayed every wave of enemies that hit them. Well, that is until they were betrayed, said Zabuza. I've never heard this story before. No, that is because Xerxes deleted all evidence and reports of those battles. If one man wouldn't have been sent back to retell the tale to the council, then this story would have been lost, Naruto said with a sad smile. Leonidas is somewhat of my idol. That's the kind of king I want to become. Remember, Zabuza, a Spartan's true strength is the warrior next to him. Respect him and honor him, and it will be returned to you. The key is to utilize perfect teamwork and fight as one. None of that lone hero bullshit, like my mother said. Hi. Well, I don't have any spare weapons with me, so we'll have to train you with those when we come back to Konoha. Until then, battle formations, Naruto said and took out a book that contained all the Spartan formations ever made. They studied all night while Sasuke and Sakura trained. The next day, Naruto was outside practicing with his sword when Inari and Tsunami came out. Why do you try so hard? You can never beat Gaddis men, the stuck-up little brat said, making Naruto turn around. Inari, said Tsunami. Yes, I can, Naruto said simply. No, you can't. No one can beat him and his men, Inari said, and Naruto got extremely pissed off and grabbed his collar. Then what am I supposed to do? Hide under the bed and die like a coward? No, I will die with dignity on the battlefield. I'll never give up. Didn't you listen to the story about the 300? He said to a teary-eyed Inari, who ran away crying as soon as Naruto let go of his collar. Naruto let out a sigh. Forgive me for that little outburst, Tsunami-san, he said with a small bow. Oh, it's no problem. He needed to be told that. Maybe not with so much force, but he still needed it, she said and walked into the house. Next week, Zabuza and Naruto were out in the forest, with Naruto showing Zabuza certain formations together with his Kagebunshin when they heard a scream coming from the house. What the hell was that? Asked Zabuza. It sounded like Tsunami-san, said Naruto, and they rushed towards the house. When they got there, they saw 2 samurais carrying a gagged and tied Tsunami away from the house. Just when they were about to charge the samurais, they saw Inari charging in, blindly waving a kitchen knife. The brat's gonna get himself killed, said Zabuza and charged in to save Inari, while Naruto charged the samurais. The samurais were soon disposed of with 2 spear thrusts to the chests. Good job, Inari. Not the smartest thing in the world to do, but you didn't show any fear and was ready to die for your mother. I respect that, said Naruto and ruffled Inari's hair. Hey Naruto, if the samurais came here they must have gone to the bridge too, said Zabuza, and Naruto's eyes widened. Shit, Inari, can you take care of your mother? Naruto asked, and after getting a nod he and Zabuza sprinted towards the bridge. When they got there they saw Sasuke, Haku, and Sakura fighting what seemed like about 400 samurais while Kakashi was battling 2 jounins. Zabuza, you take the jounin and I'll take the samurais. Hi! Zabuza said and ran to help Kakashi while Naruto hopped in front of Sasuke, Sakura, and Haku. Naruto-kun! Exclaimed Haku when she saw him. Are you guys all right? Naruto asked, not taking his eyes off the samurais. We're fine, Dobe, said Sasuke. We don't need your help. Well, maybe not, but I still want to fight, Naruto said, and made a whole bunch of KBs, and they got into the phalanx formation to cover the whole bridge when the enemy charged. Steady! The real Naruto shouted before the enemies slammed against the shields. When all the enemies were pushing against the shields, Naruto shouted a quick now, and simultaneously, the clones pushed their shields forward and up, then took their spears and stabbed forward. Blood came gushing out of the bodies as all the Narutos pulled back their spears, took a step forward and lifted their shields again. They look a bit thirsty, shouted a clone. Then let's give them something to drink. The real Naruto shouted, Spartans, push forward, yelled Naruto, and push forward they did. As they pushed, their shields pushed the men, their spears tearing the flesh off the samurai. Naruto himself pushes forward, he thrusts, sending his spear into the heart of a samurai. He yanks back in formation and pushes forward. He watches as 3 of his men spear the same man. The yank back, his blood gushing out in torrents as his body falls. He continues on. Bodies cover the ground. Naruto steps onto corpses, steps into puddles of blood, thrusting his spear into the heart of his enemies. Yet he and his clones remain safe behind their wall of metal. While this was going on, Kakashi, Zabuza, Haku, and the genin looked on in complete awe. Horror for Sakura, who threw up when she saw the carnage. I never thought I would ever see a Spartan at work like that, said Zabuza, never taking his eyes off the battle. And look at the defense. Kage Bunshin's gets destroyed as soon as they get even a small scratch, and he hasn't lost a single Bunshin. Back! Shouted the samurais in the front. Forward! Shouted the samurais in the back as they were pushed off the incomplete bridge. They stood no chance. A slaughter, that's what it was. Bodies were decorating the bridge. Naruto could feel his Spartan bloodlust bubbling inside him. To the edge, Naruto shouted, and all the clones started pushing the rest of the samurais towards the edge. Screams of terror could be heard as the samurais were falling towards their watery grave. Remember how high that bridge is? It's like 160 feet high. When the battle was over, Naruto just stood there in complete silence, savoring the glory of victory. His first real battle, and he won. He felt no remorse. He knew he should have, but he didn't, he couldn't. I want a spear and a shield, said Zabuza in awe as he looked at his Zanbatsu in disappointment. My Kubikiri could never do something grand like that, he said while Sasuke was shaking with fury. How can the Dobe have that much power? I need it, he thought as he turned to walk away. 1 week later, Konoha. Zabuza and Haku were happy. When they got to Konoha, the Hokage gave them amnesty and made them Konoha ninjas. Haku was made Chunin and Zabuza was made Jounin. Oh, and Naruto, Sarutobi said, getting the attention of said blonde. I've decided to promote you to Chunin too after your performance in Wave, he said, and gave Naruto a paper to sign. You'll have to sign this to clarify that you are aware of the risks of taking higher level missions, so we're not responsible if you die. Which is kinda odd since they would be the ones who gave the dead guys missions. Sure, Naruto said and signed the papers. Well, I'm gonna go show Zabuza and Haku their new home. See you later, old man. See you later, Naruto. Hey, old man. Why was the Dobe made Chunin and not me? Said Sasuke, making Naruto smack him to the floor with the shield. Don't call him an old man team, he said in a low voice. Why? You do it. And why should a dobe like you be allowed to call him an old man and not an Uchiha like me? Asked Sasuke as he picked himself up. Because he's like my grandfather. And if you call him old again, I'll have your head on a spear, Naruto said and walked out the door, making Sarutobi happy that he thought of him as a grandfather. Now Sasuke, the reason I made Naruto Chunin is because he showed great leadership, skill, and strategy on the battlefield. You didn't. According to what I heard from Kakashi, you just charged into the fight blindly, Sarutobi said, and Sasuke turned around to go home and sulk. 15 minutes later, Sparta compound. Naruto had just finished the tour of the house and Zabuza and Haku were in complete awe. The house was huge. When Zabuza saw the armory, he threw himself at the weapons. You gotta teach me how to use these, he exclaimed while examining a sword. I will, tomorrow. First we will have an exam. History exam, exclaimed Naruto while pumping his fist into the air, making Zabuza groan. 3 months later. Naruto was in his office doing paperwork when there was a knock on the door. Komein, Naruto said, and the door opened to reveal Zabuza. You wanted to see me? He asked in a bored tone. Yes, I want you to take one of these papers to Haku and get her to sign it, and you sign the other, Naruto said and handed Zabuza 2 pieces of paper, causing him to raise an eyebrow. What for? They are to make you legalized citizens of Sparta. And make sure you sign the right paper, otherwise Haku would be made second in command of the soon-to-be army of Sparta, Naruto said, making Zabuza giddy like a schoolgirl while repeating second in command, second in command, second in command. In his mind. Hi. So it's this paper I'm supposed to sign? He said and held up a paper that said, Spartan citizen and second in command of the Spartan army. The underline is where he was supposed to sign. Naruto nodded and said, yes, that's it. You can just sign it now so you can give it to me immediately. And with that, Zabuza signed the paper and left the room. Soon I can make Haku mine. As soon as she is a woman of Sparta, thought Naruto. Over the last 3 months, Haku and Naruto had become more than friends. Naruto had told her about the law of marrying multiple women and had asked if she wanted to be his first. She had said yes. Zabuza's inner Zabu was howling with pride that day. Haku's gonna marry a king, and not just any king. A Spartan king. Go get him, Haku. They would get married when she became a woman of Sparta. 3 weeks later, the bridge. Naruto stood on the bridge, decked out in his battle armor, though you can't really call it an armor since it's basically just a pair of black speedos and a crimson cape, and a full set of weapons, waiting for Kakashi with Sasuke and Sakura. He stood stock still like a statue for 2 hours waiting for Kakashi. When Kakashi arrived, he immediately had to dodge a spear thrust. You're late, shrieked Sakura, making her teammates and Sensei wince at the volume. Sorry guys, I had to rescue some children from a burning house, Kakashi said while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. Liar, she yelled yet again, making the 3 males wince. Well, anyway, I'm here to say that Naruto is out of the team, Kakashi said, getting a raised eyebrow from the 2 males and a cheer from Sakura. Yes, true love conquers all. I get to be alone with Sasuke-kun, she said with an evil gleam in her eyes. No, you won't be alone with him, Kakashi said, making Sakura lower her head and sit down. But Naruto is out because he's already a Chunin, and I want to let you take the Chunin exams. You have to sign these forms and come to the academy tomorrow at 10 a.m. You'll meet your new teammate there, said Kakashi and poofed away, and as did Naruto. 5 minutes later, Hokage's office. Naruto poofed into existence in the Hokage's office to see the Hokage talking to a white-haired old man with green clothes, a red vest, and a large scroll on his back.
Ah, Naruto-kun.
Just who I wanted to see, said Sarutobi and stood up. This is Jiraiya, he said and pointed at the white-haired man who waved. He was your father's sensei. At this, the white-haired man froze. Why, you mean that he's Minato's? He said while pointing a shaky finger at Naruto. Yep, he is Uzumaki Naruto, son of Namikaze Minato and Isabella of Sparta, Sarutobi said while Jiraiya was bug-eyed. So that's why you wanted me to train him? Jiraiya asked, and Sarutobi nodded. Yes, you are to teach him his father's jutsus and summoning, Sarutobi said, and Naruto went wide-eyed. What? My father's jutsus and summoning? Naruto asked, and a nod was the answer he got. Cool. All right, I'll train him, said Jiraiya and turned to Naruto. Okay. Meet me on top of the Hokage monument tomorrow at 11 a.m., he said and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The next day, 11 a.m., Hokage monument. When Naruto got there, he could see Jiraiya looking through a telescope while giving off perverted giggles. What are you doing? Naruto asked, making the toad hermit turn around. I'm gathering material, he said and turned back to his telescope. Material for what? Naruto asked and looked at the notebook in Jiraiya's hands. What he saw almost gave him a nosebleed. Material for my book, Jiraiya said and gave his latest issue to Naruto. Read it. I think you might find it quite good, he said and put down his telescope. Now, let's start training. Konoha, 1 p.m. Naruto was right now working on a water balloon that wouldn't pop. He had been sitting there for the last 2 hours working on trying to rotate the water so the balloon would burst. But no, it didn't work. Why the hell doesn't this thing pop? Thought Naruto angrily. How did Jiraiya do it again? He thought as he remembered how Jiraiya had made the balloon rotate in multiple directions. Wait a minute. He didn't just spin the water one way. Naruto thought as realization dawned upon him. That's it, he thought and started to try and add more rotations to the balloon. After 5 minutes of failing, he finally got the balloon to pop. When it did, Naruto thought that maybe it was just a fluke. So he tried with another balloon and lo and behold, the balloon popped again. Now all he needed to do was wait for Jiraiya to show up. So he popped another balloon and another and he kept popping balloons until Jiraiya showed up. When Jiraiya got there, he thought he would have to give a lecture on how to spin the water, but no. When he got there, he saw Naruto popping one balloon after another. Good job, kid, he said as he walked up to him. I thought it would take a little more time than 3 hours for you to pop it. It didn't take 3 hours. It took 2 hours for me to pop it. I just popped the others because I was bored, Naruto said, making Jiraiya go wide-eyed. 2 hours. Took me 2 weeks, he muttered under his breath. Well, on to the next step, he exclaimed and unsealed a bag of rubber balls from a scroll. This step is a lot harder since there is no water. Catch, he said and threw a rubber ball to Naruto. Naruto caught it and Jiraiya said, this step is about power. Put as much chakra as you can until you pop dash. He was interrupted by the ball exploding in Naruto's hands. Okay. Now that's just weird, Jiraiya said while looking at Naruto with eyes the size of dinner plates. Do it again, he said and threw another ball at Naruto, who popped it easily. Well, I'll be damned, Jiraiya said and unsealed another bag filled with regular balloons without the water. The last step requires you to use all of the power from the second step and add the rotation from the first step. To successfully complete this level, you have to maintain the Rasengan without the balloon popping. Naruto nodded and concentrated. Jiraiya could sense that the Naruto had formed the Rasengan and was maintaining it perfectly. Jiraiya lowered his head in shame. It had taken him 2 months to learn the Rasengan. It took Naruto a couple of hours. So, do you have anything else to teach me? Asked Naruto. Jiraiya nodded, bit his thumb, performed some seals and slammed his hand into the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu, summoning technique, yelled Jiraiya, and there was a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a 12-foot tall orange Todd with what looked like blue tribal covering his body and a scroll in its mouth. Take the scroll, Jiraiya said, and the toad dropped the scroll into Naruto's arms. Now sign it in your blood and put your fingerprints under your name, Jiraiya said, and Naruto did just that. When he was done, Jiraiya hopped off and dispelled it. Now bite your thumb and perform the seals. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, and sheep. And while you try to summon, I will be doing some more research, Jiraiya said with a perverted giggle. And try Naruto did. On the first try he was just able to summon a tadpole, but on the second try he managed to summon a real toad. An orange toad. Yo, it said when the smoke cleared. A new summoner, huh? Well, I'm Gamakichi, he said and waved. And who are you? I'm Uzumaki Naruto of Sparta, Naruto said and waved. A Spartan? Cool. Now if you want to play you better give me a snack, Gamakichi said, and Naruto shook his head.
Sorry.
Don't have a snack on me, he said, and Gamakichi gave a disappointed sigh. Oh well. Summon me only when you have a snack to pay me with, Gamakichi said, and poofed out of existence. Naruto figured he could try one more time before he'd call it a day, so he conjured up as much chakra as possible and performed the seals. Kuchios no Jutsu! He shouted and slammed his palm into the ground, and there was a massive explosion of smoke. When it cleared, it showed a 200-foot-tall brownish-red toad with a blue vest and a dagger strapped to his waist. Jiraiya, why did you summon me? The toad yelled. He didn't summon you. I did, Naruto said from the top of the toad's head. You? A little brat like you can't summon me. The great toad boss Gamabunta. The toad, now named Gamabunta, said with a chuckle. I am not just any brat. I am Uzumaki Naruto, son of Namikaze Minato and Isabella of Sparta and jailer of the Kyubi no Kitsune. Naruto shouted, making Bunta narrow his eyes. So you're the kid he used, huh? Bunta asked. Well, I guess I can take you on as a subordinate and help you in battle. But when you're old enough we have to share a drink, he said, and waved a webbed hand, Johnny, and with that he poofed out of existence. Spartan Compound, 6 p.m. The day after that, Haku stood in front of Naruto's desk in his office. Naruto-kun, I am bringing the paper you gave Zabuza that I needed to sign. Thank you, Haku. Now that they have been signed, let's go to the dojo. On the walk to the dojo, Naruto went on about the rituals of the Spartans, that when a man and woman decide to marry, that the respective partner has to pass a test. Do you understand where I'm going with this, Haku? She said, yes, Naruto-kun. Since we want to get married, I must pass a test to prove I am strong enough to be your wife. Yes, Haku, you are exactly right. However, since I have to have multiple wives, the test for the rest of the wives will be handled by you. She was shocked by this, and then it hit her. The first wife's test must be hard. She then asked Naruto if she was correct, and he said, yes, Haku, you are correct at the assumption. The test you must pass is to pin me in any way you can. I have used seals to make me unable to use chakra, and to add extra weight to even the playing field. They each got in their fighting stances, and Naruto was beginning to think this was a bad idea, because Haku was not doing so well and he wanted her to be his wife. However, he would not have a weak wife. He had to start the Spartan clan over, and it needed to be strong. After about 10 minutes, Haku had Naruto pinned her, straddling his chest. It took all her speed, her jutsu, and her bloodline to bring him down. Well, I am glad you passed, Haku-chan. But I think we need to get you out of that kimono. Haku blushed at hearing these words coming from her future husband. Naruto-kun, we're not even married yet, and you are trying to get me out of my clothes. A slight tint of red in Naruto's features could be seen. Since he was a warrior, it was not befitting to blush, but the thoughts going through his mind were too much. My sweet Haku-chan, you have a dirty mind. I meant something more befitting the future queen of Spartans, a traditional outfit. However, Haku-chan, it does not sound half bad to just ravage your body right here where you earned the right to be my bride. Naruto flipped her over, and now he was hovering over her in a push-up position. He slowly brought his body down and kissed her lips. It was not a gentle kiss, but a kiss between two lovers wanting to feel the power of the other. Naruto held himself up with one hand and slid the other to open her kimono up so he could feel the soft skin against his body. Naruto discarded his cape and then released his weight seals and laid his body on Haku's exposed body so that skin was touching skin. The heat they were giving off was amazing as they kissed again. Soon Naruto wanted to feel the rest of her skin on his lips. He traveled down to her neck and kissed the nape of her neck and continued his assault down to her breasts, where he pulled the wrappings down enough to expose her nipples, and he gave each one a quick lick and a love bite. He then continued down to the panties and slid them to the side to get a look at his prize. He took a deep breath and she smelled wonderful, and then he licked up the length of her slit and a shiver was sent through her body. He continued this for a moment and then he decided to have a little fun. He pulled the panties back and bunched the fabric up so that it went down the center of her slit, and he grabbed the top of the panties and started rocking them back and forth. This caused the fabric to rub her slit and the inner and outer walls of her pussy. She began squirming under his touch. He moved his body back up to kiss her, and he continued to use her panties to torment her. He whispered, "Beg me, my dear Haku-chan, admit you need it, and I will fulfill your desire." Haku wanted to admit it, but then he would think she was weak to give in to her desire that easily. She bit her bottom lip as Naruto licked her ear. He was pushing all the right buttons and she wanted release and she could not get it unless she admitted it. Damn the world! She thought, Naruto-kun, please, as your future wife, quench my desires and give me the pleasure my body seeks. Naruto leaned up to her ear, only in the bedroom, my dear, shall a king take orders. And he placed a kiss on her lips before he lifted her ass up and pulled the panties off of her legs. He had wanted to feel his cock in her mouth, but her tight virgin pussy was wet enough to fulfill his needs for now. He placed the head of his cock at her slit and pushed the head in, and he slowly pushed in till he felt her barrier, and he said, I will not take this, you are going to give this to me, so whenever you are ready you will push your body the rest of the way onto my cock. I will not move from this spot. Do you understand, Haku-chan? She nodded as she regained her breathing and she began to push her body up. She broke her barrier and the tears came and she forced herself to continue until she had all 10 inches in her tight pussy. They stayed locked that way until she nodded that she was ready. He pumped slow at first and then it began to build his sexual frustration and tension for the past few years, and he was pounding her. His thrusts were so powerful that he was moving them across the dojo floor a couple of inches each time he pushed into her. Haku, for her point, was in sheer bliss, the pain that was there earlier gone, and only the pleasure of the orgasm that he caused as he fucked with such force. Soon he was grunting hard. He wanted to empty his load in her and have her bear his children, but she had to test the other wives, so he had to pull out after her last orgasm, and he gave her 2 options. Make him come using her mouth or her ass. She knew why he did not fill her pussy up in like the other ninja. She did not know the birth control jutsu. She chose to taste his seed and she began to suck his cock as he lay on the floor, his hand playing with her hair. She was not able to take it all in, and he would have been disappointed really, because he knows she is a virgin in many ways and she is doing a great job at sucking his cock. When she began to massage his balls gentle, it was too much, and he grunted as he shot his load in her mouth. She tried to swallow, but his load was too much. It was coming out the sides of her mouth. It did not get too far before she licked it up. She enjoyed the taste of his cum. She collapsed on top of him, her head in his neck, and he just put an arm over her body. Anyone bothering him or her would be in for a world of pain. 30 minutes later, they were wed by the Hokage. The next day, Naruto did a lot during the time he trained with Jiraiya. The night on the day he summoned Gamabunta, when he got home, he started reading the book Jiraiya gave him. Naruto passed out 5 times from blood loss before he got used to it. Zabuza and him did a little sparring from time to time, and one day Naruto got an idea, decided to go to a weapons shop. When he got there, he saw a man in his mid-40s standing behind the counter. Hello, I need some weapons and shields made, Naruto said, and the man nodded. Okay, what kind of weapons would that be? He asked in a bored tone, and Naruto took out the schematics for the spears, swords, and shields. When the man saw this, his eyes widened. Those are Spartan weapons, he exclaimed, and Naruto nodded. Yes, and I want you to give them a chakra system, Naruto said, and the man nodded. Sure, but it'll cost a lot of money, the man said, and Naruto shrugged. It's okay, I have a lot, Naruto said and smiled. When do you think they'll be ready? How many do you want? 30 of each. 30? The man yelled with dollar signs in his eyes. Yes, 30. How much will it cost? Let's see here. $500 a spear times 30 equals 15. $600 a shield times 30 equals 18. And $300 a sword times 30 equals 9. Add those together equals $42,000. The man said quietly, hoping not to scare Naruto off. Okay, now when do you think they'll be ready? Oh, I'd say in about a week. Now can I get your name so I know that you was the one who ordered them? The man said and took out a pen and paper. Uzumaki Naruto of Sparta, Naruto said simply, and the man nodded. Okay, pleasure doing business with you, the man said and shook Naruto's and. Same here, said Naruto and walked out of the store. Hokage's office. Naruto walked into the Hokage's office with a bored expression on his face. You wanted to see me? Naruto asked, and Sarutobi nodded. Yes, it has come to my attention that the Suna and Odo are going to try to invade our village, and I want your help thinking out battle strategies. said Sarutobi, and Naruto nodded. Okay. And with that they got to work. The next day, Naruto walked through the streets of Konoha. He no longer received the stares of hatred from the villagers. Some were of fear of the power he now had and of his heritage, and other were of admiration. Naruto could care less. The villagers were weak and stupid in his mind. Nothing had changed about him. He learned a new form of fighting and changed his wardrobe. Other than that, he is the same Naruto that he always has been. Naruto just came from the Hokage's office discussing strategies they will use in the upcoming invasion. On his way home, he did not notice two ladies following him and watching him. Kurenai-sensei, should we be doing this? Hinata asked. Hinata, we are just observing him. I want to know his training is like. Kurenai told her student. Actually, I hope that he goes to the onsen he has that I've heard about, so I might get a look at that body. Who would have, though, under that awful orange outfit? He was well-toned, and the Speedos leave little to the imagination, but I would still love to see his package. Kurenai thought as they followed Naruto. When Naruto reached the compound, he was slightly disheartened. Haku was assigned to go on a team to gather specials herbs needed to treat wounds that the genin might get in the upcoming exams and would be gone for the next few days. Naruto thought about sparing with Zabuza, but then he remembered he was assigned to escort some teams in from some of the villages and would not be back until the next day. So Naruto decided to relax for the day. He had already done his exercises for today and proceeded to the onsen. Outside the compound, Hinata and Kurenai snuck around till they found the onsen, and with a small amount of chakra, Kurenai had made herself and Hinata a hole to watch through. Hinata was having second thoughts about this until she saw Naruto walk out in a towel wrapped around his waist, and he let it fall to the ground. Now two things happened when the towel hit the ground. Hinata fainted from the shock of seeing Naruto like this, and second, when she fell over, she alerted Naruto of their presence. Naruto did not think about his appearance. He was on his land, and he jumped the fence and stood in front of the women. Hinata had just come back from her fainting spell when Naruto landed in front of them. Well, what do we have here? A couple of perverted women spying on my onsen, Naruto said calmly. It is not what it looks like, Naruto. However, that is as far as Kurenai got before Naruto stopped her. Let me see. Freshly made holes in the fence. A slight trail of blood coming from your nose, Kurenai-san. And oh, secondly, you are on my private land, Naruto told the two ladies. We're sorry, Naruto, we will leave here, and will not speak of this, Kurenai told him as she started to walk away. Not so fast there, Kurenai-san. Just because my compound is in Konoha does not mean that the laws of Konoha mean anything on my land. On my land, the laws of the Spartans are the only laws that matters, and you are under my rule now, Naruto said in a very serious tone. Kurenai and Hinata were slightly scared at this point. Well, what does the law say about this, Naruto? Kurenai asked. Naruto looked at the two and said, Follow me and I will explain. The two ladies followed the still very naked Naruto into the compound. Once in the garden, Naruto turned to the two ladies and smiled. Now the laws of the Spartans are very simple. An eye for an eye, Naruto said while smiling. Kurenai had a look of shock on her face while Hinata's was that of confused. No, I will not, Naruto, and you have no right to ask me to do that or Hinata, Kurenai stated with anger in her voice. Very well then, Kurenai-san. I will just tell the Hokage and have him use the old law that punished perverts. A day in the stocks in the center of town shall be good for you both, Naruto said with an evil grin on his face. Kurenai had a look of defeat on her face. She knew of that law, and Naruto had the power to have the Hokage do just that. Put her and Hinata in the square in the stocks. For a man that was not too bad, but a woman it would put her in an accord position and her backside could be viewed, and it would allow someone to see down her top. Very well, Naruto. I will agree, but Hinata will have to agree on her own, Kurenai said in a low voice. Well, Hinata, what shall it be? An eye for an eye or the stocks? Naruto asked her. It just hit Hinata like a ton of bricks. He wanted to see her naked as she had seen him. She had no choice. Her father would disown her if she was to be put in the stocks in the square. I agree, Naruto-kun, Hinata said in a low voice. Well then, good. So go ahead and start stripping so I can see you too. I have wanted to see you both for some time and did not know of way to get this opportunity, so I must thank you both, Naruto said with a big grin on his face. When they were finished there stood two very beautiful ladies as naked as the day they were born. Naruto had a small trickle of blood running down his nose and his cock had come to full attention. The girls were no better, they too had some blood coming from their noses and they were getting wet and the sight of Naruto's cock. Well, Naruto, it would seem you are enjoying this more than you should, Kurenai said while she looked at his cock. Well, you are in no better shape, Kurenai-chan. I have greater senses and I can smell yours and Hinata's arousal from here, Naruto stated. Both girls blushed at this. They had been caught. Damn him and his senses. I mean, I would love to be dominated by that huge cock and have it in me and give me pleasure. Damn you, Naruto. Why do you have to be the one that can melt my exterior and make me want to be yours for anything you want? Kurenai thought angrily. Well, I have an offer for you too that may appeal to you, Naruto said as he walked towards them. Kurenai and Hinata. I need wives to help to rebuild my clan and the women need to be strong. And I know both of you are strong women. So take me as your husband on your word now and I will make you feel the pleasure I know you both seek. The only thing you will have to do is pass a test that my first wife will give you to test your strength. At this both women were shocked. First wife, they said at the same time. Yes, Haku, my first wife. She already passed my test of strength and she shall test the rest of my wives. And I find you both attractive, loving women and cannot think of anyone better to have. The two women seemed to think of it for a second, both for different reasons. Damn it, I wanted to be Naruto's wife. I don't want to share him, but if he has already taken a wife then I have no choice. I will have to share him. At least he said I was strong and loving. I guess it is worth it, Hinata thought. Damn it, I'm the Ice Queen of Konoha. I should not fall so easily for Naruto, but his eyes. They just pull you in and I so want to feel him in me and to tame my urges and he is sweet enough. Oh, hell with it. I get Naruto and get to be naughty with other girls. Kurenai thought. I agree. They both said at the same time. Naruto only smiled as he moved in to hug them and then he said, we can do this two ways, you two can decide who will go first, or I can create shadow clones. Kurenai-sensei, you may go first, Hinata said. Actually, Hinata, why don't you go first? I can help him with you, Kurenai said. Kurenai, I never knew that about you. Well, this certainly will be fun. But you both can suck my cock at the same time. Both women knelt before Naruto and Kurenai told Hinata to try and kiss her through Naruto's cock and then move up and down it with her. Naruto had never felt anything this good. The girls worked up and down his shaft and to Naruto when they reached his tip they kissed with his tip in the middle of the kiss. Soon Naruto was feeling his cock getting ready to blow and Kurenai knew the signs and moved to the tip and in the kiss their tongues licking it pushed him over the edge and both girls got a mouthful of his cum. Kurenai wasted no time and swallowed the precious liquid and licked Naruto's cock clean as Hinata tasted his cum. She was surprised it tasted great. Kurenai lowered Naruto to the ground and Kurenai leaned down and took a couple licks of Hinata's pussy. Kurenai-sensei, don't stop, Hinata pleaded. Kurenai looked over to Naruto, his cock back hard as a rock. She lead Hinata over and got her in position. Hinata down slowly, easy down onto Naruto's cock and when you feel resistances just fall down on it. There will be pain but it will only last a few moments and you need to remain still until the pain passes. Kurenai told her. Hinata lowered herself on the cock. It was a warm feeling. Then she felt the resistances and she just fell the rest of the way and she screamed and tears fell and Kurenai took a nipple in her mouth and sucked on it while massaging the other breast making Hinata moan and she nodded to Naruto who gripped Hinata's waist and began moving her up and down. Hinata began to scream but this time it was pleasure. She was being flooded with pleasure. Naruto's cock was feeling her up and Kurenai was sucking on her breast and her other hand on Hinata's pussy. Soon Hinata found her first orgasm approaching and it was more than she could handle and she passed out from the overload to her system. Kurenai picked her up and laid her to the side while she took her turn on Naruto. Now Hinata was nice to fuck. She was sweet and innocent. However, Kurenai was always sweet to him. But this was a new side of her. She was wild. She slipped over top of him and gave his cock a few licks. Hinata-chan tastes so good. I hope Haku-chan tastes this good. However, I will find out later. Now let me see how this feels. She straddled his cock and slowly slipped down on it. She knew she would get her release, but she wanted to tease Naruto a little for making her strip earlier. She inched down, allowing her pussy to take him ever so slowly. Naruto had enough and thrust up only to find her moving up as well, keeping him from going deeper. Now Naruto-kun. None of that, you made me strip, so you are being punished for that. Kurenai knew she would not last much longer. She wanted to torture him, but her pussy betrayed her by getting the inch further than the cock was begging for it. I see, Kurenai-chan. I know you think I need punished, but I see in your eyes you are the one that needs it, he said, and his hand slapped her ass. She lost control and her knees buckled, and he was all the way in, and he loved the feeling of her pussy clamping on his cock the way it did. He decided to tease her some more and slapped her ass again. Kurenai could only moan as she was rocking back and forth on his cock while he slapped her ass again. You liked that, didn't you, Kurenai-chan? She did not answer him, and another slap came down a little harder. Again she let out a moan as he pulled her down to him inches from his face and slapped her again. You liked that, didn't you, Kurenai-chan? He whispered to her again. Yes, I did, Naruto-kun, she whispered back. I want you to scream it. Scream. I love to be filled by Naruto-sama's cock and to be slapped like a bad girl. Kurenai lost it. He was doing what she wanted. He was fulfilling her fantasies, and she did just that. I love to be filled by Naruto-sama's cock and to be slapped like a bad girl. Kurenai screamed and the top of her lungs, and soon she felt a slap on her ass, and it was not Naruto. There stood Hinata. You will be punished then, Kurenai-chan. If you do not bring Naruto-kun to a climax, so start fucking, she said, and Kurenai started humping Naruto. Naruto was kissing and suckling her breasts as she rode his cock. Hinata did her part. She stood there, a hand on her pussy and a hand slapping Kurenai's ass. Kurenai was moaning. She had already come 3 times and had soaked Naruto's waist with her cream and was wondering if he would ever come. Naruto had felt it coming for a while. He wanted to hold out on Kurenai and give her the best fuck she could, and as she started her 4th orgasm, her walls clamped down tight on him and began to milk his seed, and he shot it deep into her. She collapsed on his chest as Hinata came around to join in on a 3-way kiss. All Naruto could think was he was going to need a lot of stamina with these 3. Next week, weapons shop. Naruto walked into the shop and saw the man standing behind the counter. The man smiled when he saw him and took out a scroll from behind the counter. Ah, Naruto-san, your weapons are ready and sealed in this scroll, the man said, and gave it to Naruto, who in turn handed the man a check. Good. Here's your payment. I hope we can do business again sometime, he said, and left the store to practice his new weapons. Spartan compound. 15 minutes later. Zabuza was training his spear when Naruto came walking into the compound. Ah, Zabuza, perfect. I have new weapons for us, Naruto said, and unsealed 2 of every weapon and 2 shields. How are these different from the weapons we have now? Zabuza asked while inspecting one of the spears. These weapons have chakra systems, enabling us to mix our techniques with the weapons, Naruto said, making Zabuza's eyes widen. Cool, was all Zabuza could say. Yep. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try out a combination I've been thinking about, Naruto said, and picked up his shield and weapons. What kind of combination? Zabuza asked. Well, I've been thinking about making the shield both defensive and offensive, Naruto said, earning himself a raised eyebrow from Zabuza. I'm going to try and mix my Rasengan with the shield, Naruto said, and Zabuza's eyes grew to the size of dinner plates. Whoa, that's a great idea. Yup, and now I'm going to go and try it out. And with that, Naruto walked out onto the training ground and began channeling chakra into the shield. It took Naruto a week to be able to make a swirling layer of chakra over the shield that could decimate a tree. The next day, Naruto was sitting in the dojo meditating when he heard a faint voice. Ash. Hey, Lee. Up. Company it in, said the crackling voice. Who's there? Naruto shouted and unsheathed his sword. I'm I. Y.urh. Dnu. Skew. The voice said. J. Tc. Ent.adon.y void.e. And Naruto did what he figured the voice said. Okay, concentrate. He thought and blocked out everything in his mind except for the voice. "Can you hear me now?" asked the voice. "Yeah, I can hear you," Naruto said, looking around trying to find the source. "Like I said before, I'm in your head, numbskull." The voice said, "You just have to think when you speak to me." "In my head? Then you must be the Kyuubi," Naruto thought calmly. "Why, you're not afraid of me?" the Kyuubi asked, shocked.
No.
"Why should I be? Spartans are taught to show no fear. Plus, what can you do? You're stuck in the seal. I have no reason to be afraid," Naruto stated simply. "Ha! I like you, kid. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you is that I felt a familiar chakra source in this village since the Chunin exams started," Kyuubi said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. "Sauka, I see. And who might that be?" "I think it's the Ichibi no Shikaku," Kyuubi said, making Naruto raise both eyebrows. "Oh? And I take it that's bad," he thought calmly. "Yes, it's bad. And how can you be so damn calm about this?" "Because there's nothing to worry about right now. And how come you're freaking out like that? Aren't you and the other Bijus supposed to be destruction buddies or something?" "I'm freaking out because if you die, I die. And no, we're not destruction buddies. I came to Konoha because that snake fag Orochimaru decided it would be fun to wake me from my slumber. So I got pissed and attacked Konoha. I'm usually very peaceful," the Kyuubi explained. "Okay, I can believe that. But why did you attack Sparta?" "Because they got in the way and tried to kill me. It was pure self-defense. Though I must say that the Spartans were formidable opponents." "Yup. So, what do you want me to do about the whole Shikaku thing?" "I want you to find him and befriend him. After all, he is like you." "All right. I'll see what I can do." "Good. Now I'm going back to sleep. Talk to you later. Good night," Kyuubi said and closed the mental connection, making Naruto sweat drop. "Good night? It's 11 a.m. he thought, and got up to spar with Zabuza. The day after that, Naruto was walking towards Ichiraku when he saw a boy, about his age, with red hair, a gourd on his back, and a menacing look walking towards him. Oi, Kyuubi," Naruto thought as he watched the redhead coming towards him. "Damn it, brat. There's no need to yell," the Kyuubi said with a growl. "Whatever. Is that him?" Naruto thought and looked at the redhead. "Yeah, that's him all right." "Good. Then I don't have to go around and look for him," Naruto thought and started to walk towards said redhead. When he saw the tattoo for love in his forehead, Naruto got into a thinking pose. "Love? Why would you have that?" Naruto asked, and the redhead looked at him with cold eyes. "That is there to show that I love myself and no one else," he said coldly and looked Naruto over. "What is your name?" "Uzumaki Naruto of Sparta and Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi no Kitsune," Naruto said, making the redhead's eyes widen. "Why, you're one too?" he asked, stunned. "Yeah. Now tell me your name, or should I just call you Love?" Naruto asked with a chuckle. "I am Sabaku no Gaara and Jinchuriki for the Ichibi no Shikaku," Gaara said, and Naruto looked at his eyes. "You don't get much sleep, do you?" he asked, and Gaara shook his head.
No.
"I don't get any sleep at all because if I fall asleep, the Shikaku will eat my soul and take over my body." "It sounds to me that you have a pretty lousy seal," Naruto said and smiled. "I think I can have it fixed for you if you want." "Are really? Will I be able to sleep?" Gaara asked, dumbfounded, and Naruto nodded. "Why are you doing this for me?" he asked while eyeing Naruto suspiciously. "Because we're the same," Naruto said, "and I just want to show you that you're not alone in this world." "Thank you. So, can you fix the seal?" Gaara asked. "Yeah, I just need to find Jiraiya. He's a seal master. Go to the Hokage's office and wait for me there. If you want to, then you can probably join Konoha and help us in the invasion," Naruto said, making Gaara's eyes widen. "You know?" "Yeah. So, how's it gonna be? Join us?" Naruto asked lazily. "Okay, I'll join you. But can my brother and sister join you too?" Gaara asked. "Sure. And I'll even adopt you into the Spartan clan." "You're not that strong in close combat, are you?" Naruto asked, and Gaara shook his head.
No.
"But I can learn." he said, making Naruto smile. Good. And since you have fast healing like me, the training is going to be fast. But it's going to hurt, Naruto said. It doesn't matter. Well, I should be off to the Hokage's tower. Bring me the Seal Master and I'll tell you everything you need to know. And with that, Gaara left for the tower and Naruto left for the onsens to find Jiraiya. When Gaara had been waiting in the tower for 15 minutes, Naruto showed up with Jiraiya, who started blabbering about incomplete seals and amateur work and other incoherent things. He did a few seals and slammed his hand into Gaara, who passed out. Then the Hokage sent for Temari and Kankuro. When they arrived at the Hokage's tower, they were met with an interesting sight. Gaara sleeping in a chair. How can he be asleep? Asked a shocked Temari. Oh, we fixed his seal. There will be no more talking from his demon. And I have showed him that he's not alone in the world. Something you should have done a long time ago, Naruto said in a cold tone, making the two siblings shudder. And now I'm going to adopt him into my clan. He wanted me to let you two join too. What? We can't just leave the sand like that, Temari said, and Naruto chuckled. You can join or you can die during the invasion. Konoha is stronger than Suna and you know it, he said, and the siblings went wide-eyed. How do you know about that? Temari asked. We have our sources. Now if you wish to join the Spartan clan, you'll have to abandon your old fighting styles and use the Spartan fighting style. And that is? Asked Kankuro. Shield, sword and spear, Naruto said simply. Close combat only. Except when you throw the spear, of course. If Gaara's joining, then I'm joining, Temari said, looking at Gaara with concern in her eyes. Yeah, I'm joining too. Dad has been acting really strange lately, Kankuro said, and Gaara woke up. He smells like snakes, Gaara said while rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. Our father never smells like snakes, he said, and Sarutobi's eyes widened. Orochimaru, he whispered. What was that? Naruto asked. I think the Kazekage is dead, Sarutobi said, making the three Sand siblings wide-eyed. How so? Temari asked. Because there are only two people in this world that smells like snakes, and one of them is a Konohinin. The other is Orochimaru, Sarutobi said, shocking the four in the room. So, you mean that Dad's? Yes, there is a very high possibility that he is dead, Sarutobi said, and Naruto spoke up. Then he will be at the final exam, won't he? He said, and Sarutobi nodded. Yes, and that's probably when the invasion's going to happen. Okay, then I'll go and show these three their new home, and then I'll talk to Jiraiya, Naruto said, and started walking towards the door. About what? Sarutobi asked. About staying close to you during the exam. There's no doubt that you're one of Orochimaru's targets, Naruto said, and walked out the door with the Sand siblings following closely. Another week passed by and Naruto had figured out how to retrieve a thrown spear, chakra strings. He made sure to teach this to Zabuza. Naruto had also learned that his elemental affinity was wind and had started mixing wind chakra into his Rasen notate. I'm not sure, but I think that's how you say spiraling shield, and his sword and spear making said weapons and shield about 100% more deadly than they already were. Haku had also come back so she could give Kurenai and Hinata their tests. The test was simple. It was the same test Naruto gave Zabuza. Draw blood. Both passed after 30 minutes of very hard work. Right now Naruto was in his office with Zabuza standing in front of him. Zabuza, it has come to our attention that the Sound and Sand are going to invade Konoha, so I need you to recruit the rest of the 7 swordsmen, Naruto said with a serious face. I don't think I can get them all. Kisame is in some kind of organization and Raiga has his own little shithole of a village. The others are still loyal to that piece of shit Mizukage, Zabuza said and put his hand on his chin. But I think I can convince Kisame to join since he loves Spartans. But Raiga will not budge. Very well then. You will go and recruit Kisame and any warrior who's strong enough to last against him, Naruto said and stood up. You have 2 weeks. And be sure to wear your battle armor, he said, and with that Zabuza nodded and left the office. 1 more week passed and Naruto and Temari had gotten a lot closer, much to the dissatisfaction of her brother Kankuro. and she had agreed to marry him when she passed Haku's test, which was not easy. She had to fight an whole ANBU squadron. She won though. After one more week of perfecting the weapon techniques he had invented and perfecting his use of chakra strings. Now it was time for him to watch the final round of the Chunin exams. Naruto and the Sandaime had made sure that the civilians were evacuated before the exam so that they would be ready when the invasion started. Instead they had Yukai-charged KBs that posed as civilians. Sorry Godric Gryff. I had to borrow that too. The Sand siblings were given the orders to act normal, meaning that Temari and Kankuro were supposed to act scared of Gaara, who was supposed to act like a homicidal psychopath. When the matches started, it was Neji versus Taka. Taka was the new addition to Team 7. He was about 5 foot tall with brown shoulder-length hair and green eyes. The match was pretty even. Taka was a taijutsu user who was pretty much on par with Neji, but he didn't use chakra to enhance his strikes, so the battle ended with a win for Taka since Neji suffered from chakra exhaustion. Then came the fight between Sasuke and Gaara. Sarutobi-sensei, the Uchiha brat isn't here yet, said Jiraiya, who was acting as protection. Well then, the rules are simple. He must be disqualified, said Sarutobi-ns. The Kazekage spoke up. Hokage Dano, is that really wise? A lot of people have come here just to see this match, the Kazekage said, and Sarutobi sighed. Kazekage Dano, like I said, the rules are simple. No man should get special treatment like that. He will be disqualified, Sarutobi said, knowing that the audience were all Kage Bunshins. But Hokage Dano Kazekage started but was cut off. He will be disqualified and that's final, Sarutobi said with a stern voice. Damn it, not only do I not get to see Sasuke-kun fight, I have to fight Jiraiya as well when I'm fighting Sarutobi, Orochimaru thought, and at that moment a smoke bomb went off in the Hokage's booth. The invasion had begun. Konoha. A group of 50 Otonins were running down one of the many streets in Konoha looking for at least one civilian but found no one. Where the hell is everybody? One of them asked as they ran around. I have no idea, another one shouted. After another minute of running around, they came to a steel wall in the middle of the road. What the hell is this? Asked one of the Otonins while scratching his head. I don't know, but it's blocking our path, the leader of the group said and started running towards it. Let's just jump over it, he said, and the group jumped. Big mistake. When the 20 Otonins that were dumb enough to jump got over the wall, they saw that the wall was made of about 30 guys in red capes holding up their shields, and when they looked past the guys they could see about 60 spears sticking to the ground, sharp side up. Ouch! Trailing the road. The Otonins stood no chance. They fell to their deaths. After removing the dead guys from their spears, the Kage Bunshins formed the phalanx formation and rushed the rest of the enemies. Holy shit! One Otonin yelled as they saw the platoon of Spartans coming right for them, but that was all he could say before he found himself with a spear in his voice box. Let's kill these bitches, yelled one of the Spartans. I'm just gonna say Spartans instead of Naruto's. It sounds much cooler, as he sliced an Otonin's throat. No prisoners, one yelled and was answered with a HOH. No mercy, yelled another and was also answered with another HOH. It was a bloodbath. Limbs were lying everywhere decorating the street. It was beautiful. Meanwhile, Iruka was escorting the academy students to the monument with Naruto's Kage Bunshins forming a shield around them, slaughtering the enemies that were dumb enough to come close. Naruto and Ai-chan is so cool, exclaimed Konohamaru from inside the impenetrable Spartan wall, with the other students just nodding in awe, and Iruka just smiled proudly. Same time, stadium. Naruto was plowing through the enemies. He speared one enemy in the throat and slammed his Rasen no Tate into another while removing the spear. He then did a double kill when his spear went through his enemy's gut and into the chest of another. Seeing he didn't have enough time to withdraw the spear, he let go of it and unsheathed his sword. Where the hell is Zabuza? He thought as he chopped off an enemy's leg and proceeded to another, lopping off his head. Other side of Konoha. Anko was not in a good mood. First she had to go through about 50 Otonins to get her orders. And then, when she had got her orders, she had to go through another 50 Otonins and more just kept coming, outnumbering her. Nope, not in a good mood. She was panting heavily. She had a kunai in her left shoulder and right thigh. One enemy was just about to attack when a spear pierced his neck. All of a sudden, 50 or so red blurs charged in and slaughtered the Otonines, leaving no one alive. Anko was, to say the least, impressed with the boy for managing to utilize such teamwork and skill. Wait a minute, she thought and looked him over. Blonde hair, blue eyes and whisker marks. It's the QB vessel. He's pretty hot, she thought with a perverted blush. Konoha's gates. Zabuza was standing on the wall looking over the carnage and destruction with a man with blue skin and a spear strapped to his back. Wow, what a mess, the blue man said. Kinda makes me want to leave it the way it is. And Zabuza chuckled. If you leave it like this, there's no way Naruto's gonna let you join the Spartans, Zabuza said, making Kisame frown. Ah chucks, now do you really think the spear can do much damage? The blue man asked. Yes, Naruto committed the wave massacre with a spear like that and a bunch of Kage Bunshins, Zabuza said, simply, making the blue man's eyes widen. Well, let's go then, he exclaimed and charged for the enemies with Zabuza still standing there shaking his head. Hyperactive, was the only thing he said before jumping down and jamming his spear into a Sunanin. Stadium. Gaara was crushing every Suna and Otonin that crossed his path. He didn't leave anyone alive. He saw 3 Sunanins charging a pink-haired girl who just stood petrified. Of course, being the man he is, Gaara didn't really give a damn about her, but he remembered what Naruto had said. A Spartan never leaves his kin to die, even if he hates their guts. But she wasn't Spartan. But she was a Konohanin, and Spartans are Konohanins. Kin? Yes. So Gaara let his sense of duty take over and used his sand to encase the Sunanins and crush them, leaving him open for a kunai to the shoulder. Arg! He grunted and removed the kunai. Oh, you're dead! He shouted and performed some hand seals. Ryusa Bakuryu, Desert Avalanche. He yelled and a huge wave of sand engulfed the enemies and the Konohanins. Gaara sensed the allies and pulled them all up before slamming his hands into the sand, yelling, Sabaku Tai So, Desert Requiem, crushing every enemy that was under the sand. When he was finished, he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned around. There stood Naruto. Don't you think you kinda overdid it a little? Naruto asked, looking around. You left no one for me, he said with a pout. Tough luck. Besides, you have your Kage Bunshins running around slaying every enemy they see, Gaara said, making Naruto chuckle. Hehe. Yeah, maybe you're right, he said and turned to his Bunshins in the stadium. Okay guys, we head to the monument, he shouted, making the clones raise a simultaneous eyebrow. Why? Asked one clone. Guard duty, exclaimed Naruto with a smile, making the clones groan. Now move out, he yelled, and the clones started heading for the monument to guard the civilians. The counter-attack starts now, he mumbled and sliced off a Otonin's head. Roof of the stadium. Orochimaru was in a tight spot. Jiraiya and Sarutobi had stopped his coffins from rising. Now he was alone against a Sannin and a Hokage without any help except a barrier blocking others from coming in. Jiraiya just landed a kick in his gut while Sarutobi smacked him in the head with Enma. Sounds strange, doesn't it? He took the monkey and smacked him in the head. Haha. This was not a good day for Orochimaru. He lost his secret weapon. The Kyuubi brat was decimating his forces. He had to fight both Jiraiya and Sarutobi, and they stopped him from summoning the 3 other Hokages. Not a good day. Meanwhile, another part of Konoha. Guy and Kakashi were killing enemy after enemy, but now they were outnumbered. 100 Jounins against 2. Then came the rescue from above. A blue man dressed in a black robe, Akatsuki robe without the clouds, came down from the sky and started stabbing the enemies with a spear. When he had decimated pretty much half the enemies, he jumped back and gave Kakashi and Guy a thumbs up. Kisame to the rescue. Fear my long rod of death, he shouted and held up his spear, making everybody in the vicinity sweat drop. Dude, is it just me, or did that just sound wrong? Kakashi asked, and Guy shook his head. No, it's not just you, my eternal rival. That man really did sound very unyouthful, Guy said in a very low tone before he, Kakashi and Kisame charged the enemies. On top of the monument, Naruto had just sliced through an Odonin, and there was one left at the edge. Guess what's gonna happen? Naruto walked up to him and held his sword at the Nin's throat. Why, you're insane! He stuttered, and Naruto could make out the distinct smell of urine oozing of him. Is that so? Aren't you the insane ones? You who come here trying to invade the strongest of the shinobi villages? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. We? Insane? No, no, no. We will come again. With more allies. Nothing will be able to stop us. The Nin said after taking a minute to muster up some courage. Naruto started laughing. Ha ha ha. Do you really think anyone will try to do anything against us after this slaughter? We knew you were coming. We let it happen to make sure that the other villages know not to mess with us. You've served your purpose, he said coldly. You're a madman, the Nin said with fear evident in his eyes. Madman? Naruto asked and got an angry look in his eyes. I am Spartan, he yelled and kicked the Nin off the cliff. I know that's not what happens in 300, but this FIC isn't called 300 now, is it? Naruto just stood there watching the Nin splat against the ground.
No remorse.
He looked at the village. Corpses were lying everywhere. He could see the shield around the roof of the stadium fall, and 5 figures jumped away from the spot. The invasion had failed. Naruto took a deep breath. Spartans, the enemy is retreating. Victory! He yelled, and a cheer of HOH HOH roared from everywhere in the village, making the Konohanins go wide-eyed. So this is what it was like on the Spartan battlefields? Asked Kisame in wonder as he stood on a roof watching the monument. I think so, said Zabuza, who had landed next to him. Beautiful, ain't it? Yep. Next day, Spartan compound. Naruto was sitting in his office doing paperwork when Haku came in.
Naruto-kun.
A Hyuga Hayashi is here to see you, she said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. Hayashi? Who the hell is that? He asked, and Haku shrugged. I don't know, but I think it's Hinata-chan's father, she said, and Naruto nodded. All right, send him in, Naruto said, and Haku nodded and left. A few moments later, Hayashi walked in. Good day, Hayashi-san, Naruto said with a small bow, which Hayashi returned. Good day, Naruto-san. I'm guessing you know why I'm here, Hayashi said, and Naruto nodded. I'm guessing this is about Hinata and me deciding to marry each other? Yes, I want you to know that I, personally, don't have anything against you, Naruto-san. But though I may call her weak, I still love my daughter, and her marriage to you can damage her reputation, Hayashi said, and Naruto calmly raised an eyebrow. Ho? Please explain. Well, I don't want my daughter to be labeled as a demon lover. I don't want her to receive glares and beatings, Hayashi said, and Naruto chuckled. Don't you think I already talked to Hinata about that? Or Haku? Or Kurenai? Or Temari? They don't care. And as long as they are Spartans, they shall be protected by me and the others. No harm shall come to them as long as I draw breath.
Plus.
The villagers don't seem to want to mess with me anymore. I don't receive glares anymore. The looks I receive are of fear and admiration nowadays, Naruto said, and Hayashi nodded. But are you sure she can be safe? He asked. Yes, no one will even lay a finger on her. Good. Now when is the wedding? Hayashi asked, and Naruto cupped his chin. I don't know. I don't even know if Haku has given her and Kurenai their tests yet, he said, and Hayashi raised an eyebrow. Tests? What tests? He asked, and Naruto started explaining about the Spartan marriage customs. When he was done, Hayashi nodded slowly. Naruto-san, there is another reason I came here, he said, and Naruto tilted his head to the side and raised an eyebrow. It has come to my attention that Kumo has started trying to obtain the Byakugan again, and I want our clans to create an alliance to try and scare them off. Okay, and what do I get out of this? Naruto asked. You'll get my full support on the council, Hayashi said, and Naruto nodded. Fine, he said. Next day. As Naruto walked through the compound, he was thinking about the battle from yesterday. His mind was swimming in the attack. It took him about 2 hours to get back from the overload when he dispelled the shadow clones. So today Naruto was going to take it easy. He decided no training for anyone in the compound. It was traditional after a battle that one was to rest one's body and mind. So he went to the onsen to soak his muscles. He went in and dropped his towel and sat down in the warm water and let it go all over his body, and he laid back his head and closed his eyes. Naruto did not notice a person come into the onsen, and when he finally noticed said person he heard something hit the ground and he was beginning to get a nosebleed. There stood Temari with nothing on her, hair let down, and she was beautiful. Scratch that. She reminded Naruto of one of the pictures of the goddess in the Spartan history book.
Hello, Naru-kun.
Temari said coyly. Hello, Temari-chan. Naruto replied in a heavy voice. I'm not disturbing you, am I, Naruto-kun? I figured since the other girls had duties to do in the village that I could help you. I saw that you and your muscles looked very tense and I came here to give you a massage. Temari slowly lowered herself into the water and sat down and spread her legs, clearing a spot in front of her. Naruto-kun, come here and sit in front of me so I can take care of you properly. Temari called out to him in a seductive tone. Naruto moved to the spot in front of Temari and sat on the edge, and he felt arms pull him in tight, and then he felt her breast against his back. He just felt comfortable. Temari began to massage his shoulders, and every once in a while she would move her hand over his chest and would pull the water over his shoulders. Naruto's cock was getting hard from the breast on his back and the way Temari's hands felt on his skin. Temari-chan, your massage is making other muscles become tense and hard, Naruto said in a very deep tone. Well, I guess I'm going to have to take care of that, Temari said and slid her body up until she was sitting on the edge of the onsen and pulled Naruto until he was lying on the ground next to the onsen, and Temari kissed him while she began to stroke his cock. Naruto was in heaven as he felt her tongue explore his mouth and his cock get the needed attention. I see that my hand massage is doing nothing to ease the stiffness. I guess I will have to try another technique, Temari said in her most seductive tone. Now Temari had talked to the other women in the house and she heard Naruto loved to eat pussy, so she was going to tease him a little. She got in position to take all of his manhood into her mouth by placing the two in a 69 position. It put the curvature of his cock to the curvature of her throat. She licked the tip and then the shaft. She then engulfed the shaft. She was thinking that the classes female ninja had to take to seduce men paid off. Luckily, she never had to do any of the things she learned due to her being the daughter of the Kazekage. She was able to get the whole length in her and did not gag. For Naruto, his eyes rolled back in his head. It was too much. None of the others could get him in all the way no matter what they tried, and this was new to him. He opened his eyes to see her shaven pussy wagging back and forth in front of him. He went to get a lick of it, and when he almost had it, she moved it slightly from his reach. Now this had two effects. Naruto was being denied, so it made him try harder, but it also forced his cock in her mouth further. Naruto kept trying before he finally snapped. He slapped her ass. Temari-chan, you move again and I will punish you. I want to taste that pussy, so bring it back and sit on my face, Naruto said in a commanding tone. Now she was a little shocked. She had heard about the Kurenai incident and she was a little curious about it, but to have actually just been slapped on the ass was something new to her, and she unconsciously moved back and did as ordered. Naruto was happy and said, "Good girl. I will give you a reward for behaving. But remember, bad girls are punished." Naruto then stuck his tongue out and began to lick her pussy, which was very wet, and Naruto filed this away for future use that she got turned on when he slapped her ass. Naruto was in heavenly bliss. He was licking a pussy, and the owner of said pussy was giving him the best blowjob he'd ever received. Now Temari had finally come out of her shock. She had went on autopilot for a while, and now she had control again. She was going to bring Naruto down. She picked up her pace of her sucking and was now massaging his balls. Naruto felt her pace quicken, and he knew what she was trying to do. This was a war. A war for sexual dominance to see who would give in first. A war he was not about to lose. He made his licks deeper into her, and he focused some attention to her clit to help bring her closer. She retaliated and focused on his tip. She knew it was sensitive like her clit, and then it happened. Naruto took his last trump card from his bag. He would either win or lose with the next move. He took his hand and fingered her wet pussy, getting his 2 fingers soaked in her juices, and then he placed them at the entrance to her ass. Then he pushed in slowly while using his other hand to finger her pussy, and his tongue was on her clit, sucking it and licking it. Temari's eyes went wide as she felt the new sensation, and she was at a loss. She could try and stimulate his prostate, but she was not that accurate with medical techniques, so she knew this battle was lost and decided to at least enjoy the sensation. Soon she was moaning on his cock as she was getting closer to her orgasm. Little did she know that her muffled moans increased the pleasure he was feeling and was close to his orgasm as well. Temari had just a second to pull off and shout that she was coming, and she swallowed his cock, and as his face was flooded with her juices he lost it and shouted to her that he was going to blow, and she could not help but swallow as he shot his load in her mouth. The two stayed in the position for a few minutes, Temari cleaning Naruto's cock and Naruto cleaning her pussy. "You almost had me there for a second, Temari-chan," Naruto said, panting.
No.
"I had already given up and given into the pleasures that you were giving me." Temari panted back to him. "However, Narukuin, I was a bad girl. I fought you. Do I need punished?" Temari asked in a schoolgirl voice. "Damn, you're as bad as Kurenai," Naruto said with a smile on his face as he knelt behind her. "I'm just following what you said. I was a bad girl and need to be punished," Temari said again with the schoolgirl voice. "Well then, are you ready, because you have caused me to become hard again and I feel like fucking that tight pussy of yours," Naruto said in a devilish tone. Naruto began to push his cock into her pussy, going slow until he felt that familiar barrier. "Temari-chan, this is going to hurt, so I'm going to push the rest of the way in and just stay there until you're ready."
Ok.
Naruto pulled out slightly and pushed in till he was buried in her pussy. Temari let out a scream of pleasure and pain. After a few minutes Temari looked back and nodded, and he was slowly pumping in and out of her, and soon he picked up his speed and was pounding her. The sounds of skin hitting skin were heard and her moans of pleasure were heard. Naruto then slapped her ass. "Temari-chan, I'm going to spank you until you come, so you better be ready." Naruto began spanking her alternating checks, and he was doing it as he pushed and then pulled out. Soon he had a rhythm. Temari could feel the orgasm build up, and it was going to be big with the sensation of being spanked added to him plowing her with that cock. Soon she was screaming and gasping for air as the orgasm approached, and she came as he brought both hands down and thrust into her. Naruto picked up his pace and was moaning as he came deep inside her. They collapsed into each other in a tangled mess. Naruto rubbed his hand over her ass as he pulled her into a passionate kiss. Next day, again. Naruto had married Hinata in the Hyuga compound and Kurenai in the Spartan compound. Now he was once again sitting in his office, fighting the evil called paperwork, when Zabuza came in.
Oi, Naruto.
"Jiraiya-sama is here to see you," he said. "Send him in," Naruto said, and Zabuza nodded. "Oh, Zabuza, give this paper to Kisame and get them to sign it," Naruto said and gave Zabuza the paper. "Is it for citizenship?" "Yes." "Well then, I'll let Jiraiya-sama in and give this to Kisame," Zabuza said and walked out of the office. Moments later, Jiraiya came in. "Yo, Gaki," he said and sat down. "What do you want, Ero-sennin?" Naruto said, and a tick mark appeared on Jiraiya's forehead. "I want you to come with me to find my old teammate, Tsunade." "For what?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. "Because Sarutobi-sensei has chosen to retire, and she has been elected as Hokage, and we're going to bring her back," Jiraiya said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Really now? And why would I do that?" Naruto asked, and Jiraiya smirked. "Because Sarutobi-sensei asked you to do this for him," he said, knowing that Naruto had a weak spot for the old man. "Damn it," Naruto muttered under his breath. "All right, just let me finish my paperwork," Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. "We'll leave tomorrow," he said, and left the office. The next day, Naruto and Jiraiya were walking into a small lodging town where they would spend the night. Naruto was thinking about the invasion. No matter how much he tried, he couldn't feel remorse for slaughtering all those Odo and Tsunanins. Meh, they had it coming, was his conclusion every time he thought about the battle. "Oh, this place looks nice," Jiraiya said and pointed at a building that looked rather expensive. "Yeah, it does," Naruto said as they walked in and rented a room for the night. Just when Jiraiya had paid for the room, a really beautiful woman walked past the doorway and winked at Jiraiya and walked away. Needless to say, he shot after her with a speed that could rival Sonic the Hedgehog. leaving Naruto to go up to the room and meditate. Naruto's mind. When Naruto had entered his meditative state, he ended up in front of the Kyuubi's cage. So, you're the Kyuubi, huh? Naruto asked lazily with a raised eyebrow. Yes, I am the almighty Kyuubi no Kitsune, Kyuubi exclaimed with his head held high with pride. Almighty, huh? So that's why you're stuck in this seal? Naruto asked, making Kyuubi's eye twitch. Shut up. It wasn't a fair fight. Your yandame used a jutsu to summon the Shinigami. He's even stronger than me, Kyuubi roared, making Naruto cover his ears. Christ! Stop shouting. I'm right here, Naruto said. And I can see two things wrong with what you said. One, you said it wasn't a fair fight. Then how fair was it before the Shinigami was summoned? That's just plain bullshit. And two, you said that you're almighty. Yet you say that the Shinigami is stronger than you. That just doesn't add up, Naruto said, and the Kyuubi was speechless. He, the king of the Bijus, was owned by a puny mortal. He opened his mouth to say something but closed it when he couldn't think of anything to say. Then he just mumbled something about puny mortal wise ass and went to the back of his cage to sulk. So what did you come here for? Kyuubi asked from the back of his cage. Nothing, just wanted some company while Erosenin was chasing after some girl. And just as Naruto said that, he heard a distant knocking. You better go back to the world of the Kanzius brat. Somebody's at the door, Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded. Alright, see you later, Q, Naruto said, and the Kyuubi growled. Don't call me that. You shall address me as Kyuubi-sama, you little shit, he shouted, but was disappointed to see that Naruto had already left. Real world. Naruto got off the bed and walked over to the door. This is what happens when you don't get two keys, Erosenin, he thought as he opened the door. To his surprise, there were two men standing there in black cloaks with red clouds on them. One of them had an orange mask and the other one had a pair of red eyes with 3 tomos in each and a striking resemblance to Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi, Naruto said calmly. What might bring you here?
Naruto-kun.
You will come with us, Itachi said simply, and Naruto unsheathed his sword. How about… No, Naruto asked with that annoying calm. He was pissing Itachi off. He was the only one who was allowed to be that calm. We won't take no for an answer, the man in the mask said, making Naruto turn to face him. Yo, I'm Toby, the man said in a cheerful voice, and Naruto was just about to plunge his sword into the man's chest when a shout of Itachi was heard, making all three of them turn to see Sasuke. Oh, Itachi-san. He looks like you, Toby exclaimed and turned to Itachi. Relative of yours? He's my little brother, Itachi said, and Toby gasped. Ah, yeah. I can see the resemblance, he exclaimed, and Sasuke charged up a Chidori. Itachi, I've hated you, detested you,
Eve.
survived, he yelled and attacked Itachi, who merely grabbed his wrist and rammed the Chidori into the wall. I'm not paying for that, Naruto said before charging at Toby, barely missing cutting his head off. Whoa, that was close, Toby said and ducked under another swing while Itachi was mentally torturing Sasuke. At that moment Jiraiya showed up. Ninpu, Gamaguchi Shibari no Jutsu, he shouted and slammed his palms into the ground, and immediately, the walls, floor and ceiling were covered in some kind of messy red goo. I have summoned the stomach of a rock frog. There is no way you two can get out of here now, he said, and started pressing the walls together in an attempt to crush the two. It didn't work. Itachi used his Amaterasu and blasted a hole in the wall, and both of them ran as fast as their legs could take them. I'm not paying for that hole either, Naruto said simply and resheathed his sword, making Jiraiya nod. You're right. Let's get out of here before they force us to pay, he said, and got up, but a shout of dynamic entry and a kick to the face knocked him back down. The rest of the way is just like the anime. So is Tsunade's return.
I'm lazy, okay?
Naruto was feeling excellent right now. He had the respect of the villagers, the Sand siblings, and Kisame has learned how to wield a spear and shield and had learned basic Spartan battle formations. He had even paid off Tsunade's gambling debts, which earned him a bone-crushing hug from our Busta Blonde. He and Temari got married the day after they came back, and Gaara and Kankuro played the brother parts by saying things like, "Listen, you're my friend and all, but hurt my sister and I'll kill you," and other various death threats. Naruto was sitting in his backyard resting after a good workout when Gaara come out of the house. "Hey dude, what's up?" Naruto asked. "Nothing much. Jiraiya-sama was here and told me to tell you to go to the Hokage's tower," Gaara said simply and walked back into the house while Naruto shunshined to the Tsunade's office. "Yo!" he said as he appeared in a poof of smoke to see Shikamaru, Chuji, Kiba and Niji standing in front of Tsunade. "What's up?" "Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke has left the village," Tsunade said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. What for?" he asked, and Shikamaru spoke up. "He has left to join Orochimaru and Odogekure," he said. "And I take it the 5 of us are going to bring him back?" Naruto asked, and Tsunade nodded. "Yes, bring him back alive, but if that isn't possible then you have permission to kill him. We can't let Orochimaru have the Sharingan no matter what," she said. "All right then, who's the team leader?" Naruto asked, and Shikamaru raised his hand. "I am, and we move out now," he said, and with that they all nodded and left the office. 10 minutes later they were on pursuit at full speed. When they caught up they saw 4 Otonins sitting around a sealed barrel. "Okay guys, this is the plan. Naruto, you go face them head-on with your Kage Bunshins. Kiba and Niji attacks from the sides while Chuji and I sneak up and Chuji snatches the barrel and I attack from behind," he said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Simple as that?" he asked, and Shikamaru nodded. "Simple as that," he said simply. "All right, let's do this then," Naruto said, and proceeded to unseal his spear and shield and created 30 Bunshins who formed a rectangular phalanx formation. "Let's kill these bitches," he said, and the Bunshins nodded and charged in, while Kiba and Niji attacked from the sides. Jirubu attacked Naruto by running straight into the wall of steel. "Get him!" one clone said, and ducked behind his shield as the clones behind the front line stabbed their spears forward, causing Jirubu to jump back and activate his curse seal level 1. While this was happening, Kiba attacked Sakan and Yukon, while Niji attacked Kidumeru and Chuji stole the barrel containing Sasuke, and Shikamaru engaged Tayuya. The fights didn't last long as Chuji called out that he had gotten the barrel, but as he was about to jump away someone came and kicked him in the face and stole the barrel from him. "Kei Kimimaro," Jirubu exclaimed as he saw the guy. "You guys are late," Kimimaro said calmly and turned away. "The only reason I don't kill you now is because I need you to hold this trash off until I can get Sasuke-sama to Orochimaru-sama," he said, and jumped away. "Naruto, follow him," Chuji said, and jumped in front of Naruto. "I'll take care of this fat ass," he said, and Naruto and his clones nodded and jumped after Kimimaro. The fights are the same as in the anime except Naruto's. As Naruto and his clones landed in a clearing, they could see Kimimaro stand beside a smoking barrel. "Give Sasuke back," Naruto yelled. "This is your one chance to comply and leave," he said as he drew closer. "Never. I'll never disobey Orochimaru-sama's orders and let trash like you leave with his prized container," Kimimaro said, and extended 2 bone spike from his palms. "I'll deal with you before I go," he said, and charged. He tried to stab Naruto in the throat, but it was blocked by Naruto's shield and countered with a slash for the legs, which he dodged and jumped away. After exchanging a few blows, the barrel started rumbling for a minute until the seals on the lid came off and Sasuke jumped out. When he came out, his hair or skin didn't look the same. Both had a strange shade of purple before reverting back to normal. When he was back to normal, Sasuke jumped away from the sight. "Sasuke!" Naruto yelled and blocked and countered yet another stab before a Grenblur came in and kicked Kimimaro in the face, sending him flying a couple of feet. "Lee, aren't you supposed to be recovering from surgery right now?" Naruto asked, and Lee nodded. "Yes, I am. But I couldn't just stay in bed while you people were out here fighting," Lee said, and looked at Naruto. "Go and get Sasuke-san, Naruto-kun. I'll handle this unyouthful fiend," he said, and Naruto nodded and proceeded to follow Sasuke. When he finally caught up, he was at the Valley of the End with Naruto standing on Shodai Hokage's head and Sasuke standing on Uchiha Madara's head. Just when Sasuke was about to jump away, He stapoed when he heard Naruto shout. Are you running away from me, Sasuke? Naruto asked, making Sasuke turn around. Running away? From a dope like you? Ha! Don't make me laugh, Sasuke said. Then why won't you fight me instead of running? Naruto asked and Sasuke smirked. It's because I don't want to waste my time on weaklings like yourself, he said, and Naruto unsheathed his sword. You're coming back to Konoha, Sasuke, dead or alive, he said, and Sasuke let out a laugh. Ha! The village worships me. Do you really expect me to believe that they would let you kill me if you could? He asked, and Naruto smirked. Of course. Tsunade Oba-chan gave me permission to kill you if you didn't come peacefully, he said, and pointed his sword at Sasuke. So what's it gonna be? Dead or alive? He asked, and Sasuke smirked again. You are the one going back dead. I'm going to Orochimaru after I kill you, he said, and jumped over to Naruto. When he landed, he tried to punch Naruto in the face only to be smacked away by the shield. See that, Sasuke? If you would have had your Sharingan activated, you would have been able to dodge that. Without it, you're nothing, Naruto said, and Sasuke started to get angry and activated his Sharingan. Shut up. I'll kill you, he shouted and charged a Chidori and attacked only to have Naruto block it with a wind-powered shield, making Sasuke and Naruto fly back from the resulting explosion. Then what about you? Without that shield, you are nothing, Sasuke said after getting up. Oh really? Naruto asked and threw away his shield. We'll just see about that. And with that, he charged Sasuke, trying to slice his head off only to have Sasuke duck and kick Naruto in the gut. Unfortunately for Sasuke, the kick didn't even faze Naruto, who in turn kicked Sasuke in the face, sending him rolling away. That stung a little, Naruto said, trying to make the Uchiha lose himself to rage. Successfully, I might add. Sasuke became pissed off and charged another Chidori, which was intercepted by a wind-covered slash from Naruto. The sword cut right through the Chidori and into Sasuke's arm, cutting half of it off. Next thing you know, Sasuke was on the ground rolling around holding his stump while screaming bloody murder. After a few strings of curses that would put a sailor to shame, Naruto grew tired and knocked Uchiha out with a blow to the neck. He then picked up Sasuke's limp body and started heading back to Konoha when Kakashi showed up. How is he? He asked. Knocked out and missing one arm. Other than that, he's fine, Naruto said calmly and walked away. You coming? He asked and jumped away, followed by Kakashi. When he got back, he immediately went to the hospital to check up on his teammates. Neji and Chuji were in a deep sleep to recover from their injuries. Shikamaru just had a broken finger and was walking around, while Kiba suffered from a stab wound to the stomach. Naruto walked into Kiba's room and asked to hear about his fight. When Kiba was done, his sister came in with Akamaru, who just came from the veterinary office. He's suffering from 2 broken legs, but other than that he's fine, she reassured Kiba with a smile, who sighed in relief. Naruto then walked up to pet Akamaru and lean in to whisper. You did a good job today, Akamaru. Kiba should be proud. He whispered and got up. Get well, Kiba. See you later, he said, and walked out, leaving a blushing Hana and a shocked Kiba. Why shocked? First, Naruto praised Akamaru. Nobody outside the Inuzuka clan has ever done that. Second, Hana was checking him out. That was the Spartan? Hana thought with a blush. According from what I've heard from Kurenai-san, he's pretty good in bed. Big too. And he doesn't just treat dogs like dogs. Maybe I can pull him into one of the closets in here and that's all I'm gonna tell about her thoughts. Dirty, dirty woman. The next day, Naruto was walking down the streets from the Hokage's office. He was checking in to make sure the paperwork for Kisame was going through okay, and that is when he was tugged into an alley. He was pushed against a wall and pinned there by kunai. I really thought this was going to be harder than it is after seeing you in battle and hearing from Kurenai how strong you were. But all I am interested in is what that little speedo you have contains, Anko said in a sweet voice. Well, Anko-chan, first rule of combat. When in a battle, assess the situation, and from what I can tell, your assets are very nice, Naruto replied with a foxy grin. I have you pinned in a way I can do anything to you, and you make jokes like that, Anko said in a more dominating tone. Well, second rule of combat, Anko-chan. Never take your eye off the target, Naruto said in a calm manner. Anko quirked her eyebrow at that, and then she felt the cold steel at her neck. You followed me from the Hokage Tower the minute I left. I'm no fool. I was watching the whole way here, and when you took your eyes off me at the dango shop, I replaced myself with a clone. Damn, you are good. I only let my eyes fall from you for a second. And on the battlefield, a second is all it takes to turn a victory into a defeat. Now on to why you wanted to pin me to a wall in a dark alleyway, and then make comments about my dick in the first place. Then again, my nose tells me you are as wet as a bitch in heat, he said, making Anko blush a little from getting caught. Well, Kurenai is my best friend, and she told me about the pleasure you give your women from sex. And after seeing you in battle dash, Anko started, but was cut off as Naruto moved his head to whisper in her ear. You wanted to feel a throbbing hard cock of the Spartan king in your pussy, Naruto said in a deep sensual way as he used his free hand to massage her breasts. Yes, I wanted to feel it in me so bad, Anko moaned out. Well, I don't give out free rides. The cost is kinda high. What you are charging now? Anko asked in a slight disturbed voice. You could say that the price is your life. You agree to be my bride and pledge your loyalty to me and my clan. And you can ride the cock of the Spartan king anytime you want, as long as I'm not with another wife, unless they agree to let you join in. I agree, Naruto. Now fuck my wet pussy with that big cock. First you suck it and get it nice and wet and hard for me, then I'll fuck you with it, Anko-chan, Naruto said as he pushed her to her knees. She slid his speedos down to see the throbbing cock jump out at her. Anko placed a kiss on its head as she used a hand to massage his balls. She slowly started to take him in a little at a time, and she was staring straight into his blue eyes, never breaking contact with them. She finally had him in her mouth with his cock down her throat. She was unable to breathe, and she slowly removed his cock, but his hand held her head there. Anko began to worry. She could not move. Her body was in no position to fight, and he had the power. She was beginning to wonder what he was doing, and then he released her to remove the cock from her throat. Lesson 3, Anko-chan. Keep your head in the heat of battle. Naruto chuckled at the bad joke. Anko continued to suck his cock. Bad joke or not, he had a huge cock and she wanted it. She worked his cock in and out of her mouth. Every once in a while she would just suck the head and use her tongue like she was licking a lollipop, and she was tasting the pre-cum that was coming out, and that only excited her more. She was now squatting in front of him, using one hand to rub her clit and the other massaging his balls. Naruto wanted to come in her mouth so bad, but he decided he was going to fuck her pussy and fill it with his cum. He reached down and grabbed her and slammed her into the wall. Anko got a look in her eye. She was taken over with lust. Not only was he hung like a stallion, but he was giving her rough sex, something she loved, and not most men would do this. She then felt herself being lowered on the wall to where he was holding his cock. He rubbed up and down her slit, and then he rubbed it on her clit. She tried to force herself onto his cock, but his grip was too strong, and he held her there, teasing her. She was moaning, and he loved it the way she looked as her eyes begged him to fuck her till she was unconscious, and he was damned if he was not going to at least try. In a swift motion, he shoved her down on his cock. Her legs, out of instinct, wrapped around his waist and locked onto him. She was being ferociously fucked in this alley. Her mesh shirt that covered very little was ripped off of her, and he was presently sucking on her nipples. This only caused her moans to become louder. Naruto had to shut her up before Anbu showed up from the commotion she was causing. He looked around and found a kunai on her, and it had a leather handle. He put it in her mouth and put his head next to her ear. Bite down on this. If you scream out again, I will punish you if we are caught, and it will hurt. My mind may seem innocent, but I have a very sadistic side. Only remove it if I wish to kiss you. Moan if you understand. Anko moaned out very loud. For once she was excited, fearful, and more turned on in her entire life. This man was the whole package in her book. Naruto continued to fuck her, and she was not running out of energy, so he was going to show her when he wanted to fuck someone they were going to learn a lesson. He made a clone and had him gather everything up, and they both shoeshined back to the compound with Naruto still fucking Anko. Once he made it to the bedroom, he took the kunai from her mouth and kissed her on the lips. You can scream now, but I would watch the amount you are doing because you are about to be gang-banged by me, Naruto said, and made the seals for his signature move and created 50 clones. Anko's eyes went wide and she began to kiss him. I love you. I love you, she kept repeating. Soon Naruto was reaching his limits and Anko had already had multiple orgasms to this point. She was surprised he lasted this long. Anko, I'm gonna come in your tight pussy. With those panted breaths he shot a load that filled her up and he stayed there for a minute and pulled out. He reached down and with his finger scooped up some of their juices and stuck his finger to her mouth. Suck them, he said. She did not have to be told twice. She wanted to taste him earlier and he wouldn't let her. Naruto moved aside and let his clones move in. The first one fucked her pussy for a few seconds, then lay down next to her and she was picked up and put on top of him. Another one guided his cock into her ass, then she was fucked in her pussy, and one stood in front of her to suck while two grabbed her hands and had her stroke them while they each took a breast. She was taking on 5 cocks at a time and the real Naruto smiled. See you in a few hours, Anko-chan. They will each disperse once you've made them come. He left with a mischievous grin on his face. This should teach her to try and jump me. His thoughts were interrupted by Kurenai. If that was Anko that you just took in there and left with those clone, I feel obligated to tell you that you may have created a sex monster. Kurenai said with a grin. Naruto leaned over, kissed her, and then made 10 more clones who took Kurenai off to her bed. Like I told Anko, they will each disperse after you satisfy them. Naruto then looked up to see Haku, Hinata, and Temari standing in front of him. Naruto created 40 more clones and looked at the girls. You all heard me, they disperse after you make them come, and they're gonna fuck you all in every hole. Naruto assigned each girl 10 clones and then the last 10 he told to get dressed and go to the office and finish the paperwork. He was going to the onsen to rest. The next day, Naruto was back at his compound after visiting his friends, but his mind was in another world altogether. What was that smell? It seemed so odd, but at the same time so much better? Naruto thought to himself, trying to figure out what it was. Damn it! He shouted to himself. I should have known. It's the same smell the girls give off when I make love to them. But it was stronger and it was coming from Hana? It wasn't there when I arrived and then she came in and I smelled it and it got stronger when I was petting Akamaru. I wonder if she likes me, Naruto thought. Naruto walked through the house looking for Anko and Kurenai. He found them both in the backyard meditating. Good afternoon, ladies, Naruto said.
Ohayo, Naru-kun.
Kurenai and Anko said. I need to ask a question. I met a woman yesterday and I know very little about her. I thought maybe you two know her. Her name is Hana Inuzuka. She is Kiba's older sister, Naruto said. The two girls giggled like schoolgirls.
Okay.
I'll take that as a yes to the question of do you know her? Yes, Naruto-kun. We know her. She is a close friend to both Anko and I, Kurenai said with a giggle. Yes, Naruto-kun. She was very interested in you, especially how you keep all of your women satisfied. We simple told her it's the other way around, it's us women trying to keep you satisfied, Anko said. Well, before I go make a fool of myself and ask her out, does she seem like she wants to join our family? Well, yes, she did, Naruto-kun, but I think you need a crash course on Inuzuka clan rituals, Kurenai said. You see, Naruto, they are different than a normal clan. In order to date the member, you must first go to the alpha and speak to them. If they deem you worth, then you may ask the person out. Now, if she does go out and I know you will have sex, it's hard to resist you, but if you starting having sex, you must show her you are the alpha or she will lose respect due to the first time is the show of dominance. After that is all done and you each approve, then lick her neck and if she nods, bite it. Anko said simply. This is the mating mark in the family. She will in return give you the mark to show you are her mate, Kurenai said. So basically go over, talk to Tsum, and if she approves of me, talk to Hana, take her out, which will most likely end up with us having sex, then dominate and bite her? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Yes, Naruto-kun, that is exactly right. They both answered in unison, scaring Naruto a little. Now that's just plain creepy, he thought. Okay, if she joins, remind me not to allow her to get near the clan ritual laws, Naruto said. Naruto decided to wait a day to go see her, and the next morning Naruto got up and got dressed into his official Spartan formal wear, basically a toga. He then proceeds across town to the Inuzuka clan compound. He reached the compound and asked to see Tsum. Ah, Naruto-san, what do I owe the pleasure? Tsum said in a formal way. She had met Naruto before and he had just worn his Spartan battle uniform. However, she had noticed a more formal dress today. Tsum-san. I have come to speak to you about your daughter Hana. I would like to take her out to see if she would want to join my family, Naruto said. Well, this is a great honor. I don't mean any disrespect in what I am going to ask. But did the fox heighten your senses? Sum asked. Yes, I do have keen senses. Well then you smelled my daughter's arousal yesterday. The Inuzuka clan has genes that let off pheromones when we go into heat and she entered it yesterday. Sum said. Well, that explains why I could smell it so clearly, but it does not explain why it doubled when I neared her to tell Akamaru he did a good job on the mission. Naruto said. Well, Naruto, I didn't have any doubts about you, but what you just said reaffirmed my beliefs. Hardly anyone outside the clan except a select few would praise a companion for good work. Sum said. Well, he is part of the reason we won and Kiba came back alive, so it's fitting he gets a pat on the back. Head, Naruto said with a smile. The two laughed at the joke. Well, Naruto, you have my permission to go after my daughter and she is in her room. But if you go in there you will only have one chance you fail, and she will have nothing to do with you. However, if what is said in the onsen about you is true, then I'll have a new son-in-law and a very happy daughter. Sum said with a wicked grin on her face, making Naruto narrow his eyes. Damn wives. It's strange that I decided to only marry gossipers. They must be punished, he thought with a perverted grin. Sum walked forward to show Naruto where Hana was and knocked on the door. Hana, you have a visitor, Sum yelled. Okay, just tell them to come in, Hana yelled back. It's all yours, Naruto, Sum said with that wicked grin still on her face while walking away. Naruto walks into the room to see Hana standing at her dresser with her back turned. Hello, Hana-chan, Naruto said, causing Hana to snap her head around so fast that Naruto was afraid that she would suffer from whiplash.
Nana Naruto-kun.
What are you doing here? Hana asked while blushing. Well, I couldn't stop thinking about you and I went to talk to Anko and Kurinai. They told me I should come see you about joining our family. I'll tell you your mother already approves was all Naruto could say before he was tackled to the floor. Yes. I'll join your family as long as you promise to fuck me now. I am in heat and need it bad, Hana said. Naruto, remembering what he was told by the girls about dominance, quickly reversed the roles, pinning Hana under him. Well, it would seem I've found me a beautiful bitch in heat needing some special attention, Naruto said in that deep voice. From what I've heard, you know exactly what to do with a bitch in heat and I can't wait for it. So you have proven your dominance, now get the fuck out of those clothes and give me that cock, Hana demanded with a low voice. They both started ripping their clothes off and soon they were standing together nude and Naruto was looking over Hana's body while Hana's eyes were fixed on his very hard cock. Damn, Kurinai said you were big, but hell, no wonder you have to have so many wives, Hana said, wide-eyed, making Naruto grin. Naruto pulled Hana into a kiss and as they broke away he put a little pressure on her shoulders. She knew what he wanted and was happy to oblige. Hana got on her knees and stroked the cock a few times with her hand. Then she traced her fingernail on the underside of his cock and she watched it jump a little. She heard a growl come from Naruto and she knew he had enough of the teasing, so she quickly went to work on sucking. She licked the head and then around the crown and then she started to take him inch by inch, swirling her tongue around it. She felt the tip hit the back of her throat and she readjusted her head so she could swallow him. For Naruto, he was in heaven. He loved all of the women in his life, but there was something about the older ones that just made it where they could please him so much more. He made a mental note to have a class to teach all of the other sexual techniques. Now Hana was loving this. She loved the fact that she was going to have this cock in her and she wanted this to be memorable for Naruto. Then the idea hit her. Hana removed herself from his cock, stood up, which she received a growl from Naruto for, and then she made an all too familiar hand seals. There stood two other Hanas. One moved to the ground and resumed where the original left off. Well, I guess it is time to have some fun, Hana said, pushing Naruto back onto her bed. The Hana sucking his cock did not miss a beat, and when he was flat on his back, the real Hana kissed him one more time before straddling his face. Be a good boy and lick, she said. Now normally Naruto was the dominant one, but he loved to lick pussy, and he would have his revenge when he fucked her. Naruto began by sucking on her clit and this made her moan and she just told the clone to suck faster. So this is a battle of who will come first. She doesn't know who she's messing with. Naruto thought with a smirk. Naruto went to form the seals to make shadow clones. There will be none of that. I am going to have the advantage this time. This is my test, my sweet Naruto. You have to make me come before you, and I will not make it easy for you. If you pass, I will become your wife. If not, then you'll never get a chance at me again. Hana said simply. Naruto decided he was going to make her come so hard that she would see stars, and then he was going to fuck her. Hard. He began to lick her pussy. He was shoving his tongue all the way up as far as he could get it. He swirled it around inside of her, and then he went back to working on her lips and then her clit, sucking on it and dragging his teeth on it. Hana was constantly moaning. She had never felt this before. He was driving her wild. He was working on all of her pussy, and he kept changing the order to keep her from getting used to it, and then there was the fact he could have easily made her come by just licking and sucking her clit. No, he was torturing her. The second clone had been licking Naruto's nipples up till she heard her new orders. Get under the other clone and lick his balls. I want his cum. Hana ordered through her moans of pleasure. Soon Naruto was feeling a new sensation, and he knew that no matter what he was not going to last long, so he was going to have to give Hana the release she wanted. He started to work on her clit, sucking on it, using his tongue to tease it. Hana knew it was the end, and she just screamed, "I'm coming, Naruto." At this point, Naruto was lost to the world. He had gotten the taste of her release and was greedily lapping it up as it ran out. Soon he moaned into her pussy as he shot his load. He was so busy licking her that he never felt the clone leave his cock as the real Hana finished him off. Soon Hana found herself laying on the bed with Naruto over top of her. He made the symbol for shadow clones, and soon 12 clones were standing there. 2 of you come here and each one take a breast. The rest split into 2 groups of 5 and take a clone, pleasure her until she disperses. You can do anything you want, Naruto commanded. As the clones moved to the sides of the room, it became very apparent that they were going to fill every hole Hana had, and she paled at the thoughts that would come back to her. I'm not one to be dominated easily, Hana, so now when those memories will come back and will be a good reminder of why you don't want to play games with me, he told her with an evil gleam in his eye. Naruto bent over to kiss her and whispered, "But I'll be gentle with you. For a while." Hana was glad about this because she was wet but knew his size was going to hurt at first. Soon Naruto was slowly pushing his cock forward into her tight, wet pussy when he felt the barrier. God, he loved virgins. It felt like when he did this he made a connection with them. Soon he was all the way in her, letting her walls get used to the size. He leaned down and kissed her passionately. Naruto, you feel so good. Ah!
I'm coming.
Hana screamed the last part. Naruto, for his point, was trying to figure out what caused it when he got his memories from his clones that made him hornier. So that's it. Since I have the QB in me, the clones just make my emotions stronger, but for a normal person it makes them succumb to the emotions. That's what caused Hana to come, Naruto thought with a small smile. Naruto began to move his hips, thrusting in and out of Hana in a slow, steady movement. She was in a state of bliss. She had not come down from the climax, and his clones were sucking her breast and exploring her body with their hands. He could hear the other clones and grunts and moans, and he decided to try and speed up his own thrust. If he could time this right and get her and the clones to come at the same, dispersing the clones, then she would have one hell of an orgasm. So with his new plan in action, he began to thrust into her, speeding up. Soon he could hear her moans and then the words, "Fuck me harder, harder. Show me what a Spartan can do." Hana screamed out. Naruto was pounding into her. His cock was getting close, and then he heard a muffle from the corner and knew he had to get her off soon, and he reached down to massage her clit. She was thrashing her arms. He knew she was almost there, and then she was screaming, "I'm coming!" As she started her orgasm, he looked to see if the clones were still there, and hers just dispersed as he turned, and Hana's orgasm doubled. Naruto continued to fuck her, and her walls were clamping on him tight, and he gave in, filling her with his seed. Naruto fell on the bed next to her and kissed her. Hana just snuggled into his arms. He then remembered the last part of the ritual. He leaned over and licked her neck. She nodded, and he bit down. His teeth pierced the skin and blood was drawn. Naruto licked the spot and kissed it. Soon Hana was doing the same thing. Now they both had marks on their necks to prove they were mates.
I'm yours forever, Naruto.
Hana said as she drifted off to a blissful sleep. Naruto laid there thinking about this new information and what he could make his wives feel with the use of shadow clones. He added that to the things to talk to them about. The next day, Naruto walked into his house with Hana, introducing her to everyone and sticking Gaara to showing her around the house while Naruto talked to his Kurenai and Enko. "Okay," he said and looked them dead in the eyes. "Who's the one who's been gossiping about me in the local onsen?" he asked, making Kurenai and Enko look at each other nervously. We both did," Kurenai said with a nervous chuckle. "Did we do something wrong?" she asked in an innocent tone. "Yes," Naruto said. "And you must be punished," he said and walked away. "Tonight," they heard him say, "and that gives me an opportunity to try the clone trick again," he thought while letting out what the girls could clearly make out as a perverted giggle. "Oh, that kind of punishment," Enko said in realization. "I wouldn't mind talking about him in the onsen if that's the kind of punishment I'll get," she said with a perverted grin as they went back to their training session. 2 weeks later, Naruto was sparring with Gaara when Jiraiya came to the training grounds. "Oi Gaki," he yelled and waved. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked and sat down with Gaara and closed his eyes. "I want you to come with me again," Jiraiya said, making Naruto open his eyes again. "Where to?" he asked. "Around," was the simple answer. "I want to take you on a 2-year training trip," Jiraiya said, and Naruto closed his eyes again. "I refuse," he said, simply making Jiraiya's and Gaara's jaws drop. "Why you what?" Jiraiya asked wide-eyed. "Who would refuse going on a training trip with a Sannin?" "In case you haven't noticed, I have a clan to run," Naruto said with his eyes still closed. "So what happened to Sasuke?" he asked, hoping to change the subject. "The council has voted and he has been sentenced to death for treason," Jiraiya said, making Naruto crack open an eye. "Oh, but what about the almighty Sharingan? It'll disappear when he dies. Or are they going to freeze some of his swimmers?" Naruto asked, and Jiraiya nodded. "That's what they planned, but most of the council thinks that the Uchiha bloodline is too corrupted. They've decided that Konoha will do without the Sharingan," Jiraiya said. "But seriously, why won't you come with me?" he asked, and Naruto held up his hand and started counting on his fingers. 1. I have a clan to run, like I said. 2. We can just as well train here. 3. You'd probably spend most of the time peeping rather than training me. The only reason you want to take me away from Konoha is because Akatsuki is after me, and I think I would be a lot safer here in my clan compound," he said, and Jiraiya tried to object but couldn't think of anything to say. Every time he opened his mouth, he closed it shortly after. "Fine," he said after a couple of minutes. "We'll train here. I'll come over at 8 a.m. tomorrow." And with that, he walked away, all the while grumbling about smartest blondes. When he was gone, Naruto raised an eyebrow. Didn't think he would give up that easily. "He must be as dumb as he looks," he said, and walked back into the house, leaving a stunned Gaara, who followed shortly after. 2 years had passed since Naruto started training with Jiraiya. Naruto had started acting more like a king, his subordinates had started acting more like subordinates, and his wives had started being more formal around him. Naruto walked through the village, heading towards the Hokage's office. "Tsunade-sama," he said as he entered the office. "I need to talk to you." "Oh," Tsunade asked with a raised eyebrow. "About what?" "My second in command, Zabuza, has let me know about a spy trying to get into my clan estate, but getting caught by your ANBU just as she entered the premises. My question is, what are you going to do about this spy?" Naruto asked, making Tsunade sigh. "It seems that the spy was Yamanaka Ino, heir to the Yamanaka clan. She claims that she just wanted to see what it was like in your clan, though we think that she's lying." "Has there been an interrogation?" Naruto asked, getting a shake of Tsunade's head.
No.
"I'm afraid there won't be either. Yamanaka-san is a clan heir. As much as I want to, there can't be an interrogation." "But she was caught on my property, right?" Naruto asked, making Tsunade's eyes widen. "Of course. You don't have to obey Konoha laws. Only Spartan laws." "Exactly. We don't give a damn about your clans. Any intruders must be interrogated and prosecuted," Naruto said as he left the office. "Just so you know." 10 minutes later, Yamanaka Inoichi opened the door after a knock was heard. Outside stood Momochi Zabuza, general and second in command of Sparta, and Hoshigaki Kisame, captain of Sparta. Yamanaka-san, Zabuza said with a nod and took out a scroll before reading it out loud. Because of the intrusion on Spartan property committed by your daughter Yamanaka Ino, she is to be taken to the king and interrogated. Please, Yamanaka-san, you'd be wise to give us your daughter. We'll use force if we have to. I knew it was going to happen. What's going to happen to her? Inoichi asked calmly. I just told you. She will be taken to the king and interrogated. If she is found guilty, she will be put on trial. All according to Spartan Law 15, paragraph 6. And what if I don't let you take her? Inoichi asked as Ino just walked out into the hallway. What's going on, Dad? She asked and turned wide-eyed when she saw the Spartans. If you do not let us take your daughter with us, we'll take her by force and probably declare a war against the Yamanaka clan, and trust me, you would not win. Take me? Where? Ino asked. Dad, what's going on? She asked as Inoichi moved out of the way with a sigh. Please come peacefully, Yamanaka-san, Zabuza said as he walked inside and grabbed Ino's arm. Otherwise, we'll probably cut off a leg or two, Kisame said with a grin and fingered his sword. Please go with them, Ino, Inoichi said. Nothing will come from resisting. But why? Ino asked as Zabuza tied her hands before pulling her with him. What did I do? You were caught sneaking into Spartan property, Kisame said calmly. But the case was dismissed. There was no trial, Ino shouted hysterically, making the people around them turn in their direction. The case was dismissed in Konoha, where you have political strings to pull. In Sparta, you have committed a serious crime, Zabuza shouted, silencing Ino. We will take you to the king, where you'll be interrogated. Naruto was sitting in his chamber alone when Ino was suddenly pushed into the room by Zabuza. Zabuza pushed her down on her knees as Naruto walked up to her. Thank you, Zabuza. You may leave, Naruto said, getting a nod from Zabuza, who left the room. Yamanaka Ino, do you know why you are here? Yes. And what do you have to say in your defense? Why were you here? I just wanted to see how you people were living. I've heard so much about your greatness and everything, so I thought that I might go check out what was so great, Ino said in her most truthful tone, making Naruto laugh. Liar, he said with narrowed eyes. Now tell me, why were you here? If you wanted to see how we live, you would have come during the day, not during the night when everyone's asleep. What were you trying to steal? I wasn't trying to steal any. Ino started but stopped when Naruto placed his sword against her throat. If I hear one more lie coming out of your mouth, I will cut off your lips and your tongue, Naruto growled, making Ino gulp. Now let's try one last time. What were you trying to steal? Naruto came out of his chamber with a sigh and put on his cape. He looked at Zabuza. She was trying to learn our fighting style, he said, making Zabuza go wide-eyed. That deserves the death penalty, my lord. No, Naruto said and started heading out. We can't show ourselves too offensive against the clans of Konoha. If we show lenience against her crime, Inoichi-san may be thankful enough to also show us his support in the Konoha Council. So we're letting her go? Just like that? Naruto stopped and looked at Kurenai, who was looking at him from the doorway to the dojo. He hated showing his need for violence in front of her, but she seemed to have taken in the Spartan spirit because she shook her head. No, Naruto said and turned around. Take her down to the dungeon. Give her 20 lashes. Yes, my lord, Zabuza said and headed into Naruto's chamber. So, where are you going, my lord? Kurenai asked as she walked up to him. I'm going to have a little talk with Inoichi-san to see if she was acting on orders, Naruto said and started heading for the exit. Tell Zabuza not to do anything until I come back. I can assure you, Naruto-dano, Ino acted alone. My clan had nothing to do with that, Inoichi said as Naruto sat in front of him and his wife. Yamanaka-san, the penalty for trying to learn our fighting style is death, Naruto said, making the two's eyes widen, and Inoichi was about to protest when Naruto held up his hand to show that he wasn't done. Now, I haven't sentenced her to death. We're not savages, as you may think, since you constantly oppose us in the council, Yamanaka-san, even though we may come with tips on how to improve Konoha's defenses. This time, she only gets whipped, but if she does anything to violate our laws again, she will die.
Vous whippet.
Yamanaka Kane asked with wide eyes. What do you mean? I mean that she will be whipped 20 times for her crime, a light punishment if you think about her crime. We may not be savages, but we do have our laws. Crimes need punishment. It's either that or a week of slavery, obeying our every command. Every command? Inoichi asked, making Naruto look at him. As in, if my soldiers wish, Naruto said and put a hand on his chin. So, I think 20 lashes is a pretty light punishment. The wounds she would receive from the whipping would leave scars, of course, but not as deep as the scars she would receive from slavery. He said and got up. I have said what I came to say. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll have to tell Zabuza not to issue the whipping. She'll become a slave, as per her parents' request.
No.
Inoichi shouted and sighed. I never thought I'd ever say this, but whip her instead. Smart choice. When Naruto returned to his estate, he found Tsunade waiting in the dining room with Hana. Is something the matter? He asked as he sat down.
No.
Hana said and got up and gestured for Tsunade to do the same. I've just been keeping Tsunade-sama company. She seems to have something for you. Oh, Naruto asked and looked at Tsunade. And what might that be? Tsunade handed over scroll labeled Naruto. Sarutobi-sensei gave me this. It's from your mother. Naruto opened the scroll and read it. My son. Sparta lies in ruins. You need to build it up to its former prosperity. The council decided a long time ago that should Sparta fall, one needed to be able to rebuild it. They hid the schematics for every single building in Sparta deep in the dried well of death, where they were sure that no live man would find them. You need to climb down there and get them. Raise Sparta to its former glory. Live well and die with honor, my son. Naruto looked at Tsunade. I need to go see the ruins of Sparta. Of course. Shall I arrange an escort or will you take your own warriors? Tsunade asked, getting a shake of Naruto's head. I'll take my own warriors. Hana, he said and turned to his wife. Go down to the dungeon. Tell Zabuza to issue the punishment and then tell him to bring Kisame to the front gate. Yes, my lord, Hana said with a bow and headed out of the room. What punishment? Tsunade asked. Yamanaka Ino. So, what kind of punishment did you give her? 20 lashes with the whip. A light punishment for trying to learn our fighting style without permission. 5 days later, Naruto, Zabuza and Kisame arrived to the ruins of Sparta. I never thought I'd ever see this place, Kisame said looking around. Same here, Zabuza said making Naruto look at the two. But you two were missing Neens. You could have come here any time you wanted. We were not Spartans, my lord, Zabuza said. No one but a Spartan is allowed to enter Sparta without permission. But, my lord, I've been thinking, Kisame said with a sigh. Zabuza and I, we're not Spartans by blood. How are we supposed to help populate Sparta? They had just gotten to the well that was designed so you couldn't even stick to the walls using chakra. Naruto gave Zabuza a rope and got ready to climb down. You're Spartans by paper and spirit. That is enough. You two have become close friends of mine. I'm positive that your children will be as much Spartan as my own, he said and started climbing. He's a great man, Zabuza said with a chuckle. If I'm going to die somewhere, it's by his side on the battlefield. Yeah. When Naruto had gotten 30 feet into the well, he lit a torch and threw it down because of the darkness. He had a long way to go. My lord, Zabuza shouted after 10 more minutes of climbing. How deep is this well, anyway? Deep, came Naruto's simple response. Naruto had gotten 1,000 feet down into the well when he found some kind of hatch in the wall. He opened it and took out several blueprints on the different buildings of Sparta. The council hall, the king's hall, stores, and other buildings. He took all the papers and put them in the bag that he used to have the rope in and pulled the rope twice. He found them, Zabuza said and started pulling the rope. Let's reel him in. You want to do what? Tsunade asked as Naruto had called a council meeting 5 days later. I want to buy the land surrounding my land. I estimate that I need to buy about 193 square miles of land to rebuild my beloved Sparta. I have the blueprints, someone who can build for me without trying to steal the plans, and now I only need the permission to buy enough land to build. But, Tsunade said, that area is outside of Konoha. If you want to buy, you need to talk to the Fire Country daimyo. Then that's what I'll do. I'm sorry to have taken up your time, Naruto said and left the council room. Naruto sent a letter to the Fire daimyo where he told about how he was the last Spartan who was trying to rebuild his city. The daimyo was so delighted to hear that there was a Spartan left that he had to come see for himself. I'm honored that you would come all this way to see me face to face, Daimyo, Naruto said sitting in his chamber with the daimyo in front of him. Can I get you anything to drink? No, thank you, the daimyo said with a smile. So you need to rebuild Sparta, huh? So what's stopping you? I need to buy land, Naruto said, making the daimyo smile. Oh? And how much do you need to buy? As much land as it takes to rebuild Sparta. The daimyo put a hand on his chin to think for a while before smiling. I have an idea. How about we trade? Trade? Naruto asked, not really understanding the question. You give me the land that the old Sparta stands on, and I'll give you the land here where the new Sparta will stand. It's just a small change of locations, really? The daimyo said and smiled again when he saw Naruto start to protest. You have my solemn word that there will be no analyzing the building structures or anything like that. If I can get it on papers, you have a deal, Naruto said and shook the daimyo's hand. Now, during your stay here, you will get anything you want, except my wives. Well, I could use some dinner before my journey home. Then dinner you shall have, Naruto said with a smile and ordered one of his newly acquired servants to tell the kitchen to start making dinner. The next day, the daimyo left Konoha with a signed contract saying that Naruto now owned the 193 square miles of land that was connected to the north of Konoha, the same amount of land that the Spartans used to own. Naruto immediately called for Tazuna, who brought his whole building crew and a lot of trustworthy outside help to start the building. According to his estimates, if they worked 12 hours a day, they'd have everything ready in a couple of months. 1 month later, Zabuza and Kisame came into Naruto's chamber. Zabuza walked up to him. My lord, Kisame just reported seeing a group of slavers setting up camp on our land, he said, making Naruto sigh. We really need to get the city walls up as soon as possible. Hinata, he said, turning to the woman sitting next to him. Tell Tazuna to focus everything on building the walls. Hi, Hinata said and got up before leaving the room. Zabuza and Kisame, you're coming with me. Naruto headed to the north where he indeed found a camp of slavers. Well, hello, Mr. Speedo, the slave handler said with a grin as he saw Naruto's clothes, but changed his attitude when he saw that the blonde was wielding a spear and a sword. He also noticed the 2 war-hardened escorts wielding the same weapons. See anyone you're interested in? Has anyone been touched? Naruto asked, getting a shake of the man's head.
No.
I sell my slaves clean, why? Naruto looked at the man. I want all your slaves, he said, gesturing for the 30 slaves in the camp, making the man smile a greedy smile. Well, that's going to be expensive, man. Are you sure you have enough money? I didn't say that I wanted to buy them. I said that I want your slaves. It's either giving me the slaves peacefully or die for trespassing on Spartan property. Spartan property? The man asked. He had heard the name Sparta somewhere before. When he remembered where he heard it, his eyes widened. Why, you guys are Spartans? Zabuza grabbed his collar and growled. Listen, asshole. This man isn't just a Spartan. He is Naruto, the king of Sparta. But the Spartans don't live here. We do now, Naruto said with a cold smile. We've changed locations. Now, handing over the slaves or death. It's your choice. Take them, the man said with wide eyes as Zabuza let him go. Show your face on Spartan property again, and I will have your head, Naruto said and gestured for the slaves to follow him. All right, Zabuza shouted and clapped his hands together. All slaves, Head towards clean clothes and a hot meal that way, he shouted and pointed towards Konoha. All slavers, get the fuck away from here. Luckily, Tazuna and his crew had finished building the king's hall, the council hall and 20 simple houses, so the slaves had somewhere to live. They were given clothes and food to get started. Then, when the shops were constructed, they were given enough funds to take command of certain shops and ship in supplies. This way, the economics were secured, since most ninjas came to the newly trained blacksmiths to have weapons made. Kurenai, Haku, and Hana announced that they were pregnant, each with a month's interval. Jiraiya trained Naruto physically and helped him improve his chakra control and strategic skills. All three of the women gave birth to healthy and strong boys. Naruto could hardly wait until they were old enough to be trained. Kurenai's boy, the Crown Prince Leonidas, after the famous king, had blonde hair and ruby-red eyes. He seemed to like Naruto's weapons and always tried to touch them whenever he sat down to clean them. Haku's boy, Hisagi, had black hair and blue eyes. He was very refined, though he enjoyed trying to play with Naruto's weapons just as much as Leonidas. Hana's boy, Nabu, had blonde hair and blue eyes, just like Naruto. He also had the same red marks on his cheeks that all Inuzukas had. He was playful and cared more for his mother than Naruto.